That's not the day that
One of them was Katie Ledecky, she was awesome.
My, the first time I ever saw an Olympian, was we took the road.
Yeah.
Talked about potentially having things, you know, for camp. And I remember this, and I don't know who it was, I don't remember. And I just remember thinking, what? And then he dived in and kept the touch the other end. Yeah, well, no, he did it really too. And so it's like he didn't get to so much.
Okay, they're updating their company right now, and it hasn't been updated really since like 1980. They're having like a community meeting everything. It's kind of like this program.
So athletic.
They've got like 350 or 400 surveys.
At least to me.
I remember when
So we were talking about maybe having Kyle and Celeste go to that.
Just because it might interconnect, actually, it was
I think it's like a nicer
suggestion.
area too. It's kind of weird.
Their intersection.
And when does that start, right now?
6.
I mean,
Not to go, just who's your next door neighbor?
I don't know if it's a come and go or if it's a 2 hours either.
Oh, yeah.
2 hours seems like a long time for a community meeting like
It
that.
is, but we would be interested in what you said, but
Yeah.
community.
yeah, I think that, I mean, we have a quorum,
No.
so.
It
Rock, paper,
seems like
scissors.
it would be good for us to go.
Okay.
That's,
Can agree with that.
I hereby excuse you when you
I don't know,
need
if
to
you
be
want me to
excused.
go, I'll go, or if Celeste
Yeah.
wants to do it, you can
Get
do it.
out of here.
Well, it doesn't start till 6.
I know.
All right, right on the dot, 5:15, here we go. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Oh,
Right, hold on.
oh,
Oh no.
oh no, we're frozen. I didn't do it.
Yeah, you did. You hit the gavel too hard. Told you.
Okay, let's sit down.
All right,
Everybody sit down.
This is the,
you can sit.
Isaiah
I was waiting for
I
the
never
gavel,
saw that.
I'm just, I'll make the video.
So, what do we need to vote?
Funny that it says 4:21 a.m., by the way,
Can you do that?
and Friday, February 17th.
Are you up at that hour too?
No, I'm going to bed at that hour.
You know, this morning, that's about what
Not,
time it's,
I mean, not that late.
no.
But I haven't been to bed before midnight, since the Eisenhower.
Probably might need to be.
Okay, good to know that I can text you.
You can text me anytime
Oh,
of the day
yeah.
or night,
Me
anytime,
too.
and I will probably answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
would.
I did. In
Um,
fact, I
but-
wait.
But while he's working on that, if there's anything that we need to vote on,
Well, there's a, yeah.
I mean, if there's something simple enough that we can move it up.
We need to-
Or we'll have a quorum anyway. So
We
we
got an
can-
executive session.
I know, but Kyle wants to be part of the voting, is what he's saying.
Not necessarily, I just want to make sure that if you need my vote on something, and you can offer it.
Yeah, we need a resolution.
Change your camera. Oh, it's like stuck on my neck.
That's a good shot at Scotter's nose.
Ha 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 ha. I'll remember this sometime down the road. I'll
I feel like that could be your
What's that
profile
camera
pic.
smell like?
Yeah, it's like it's,
So we got to go to Mount Hood. Shockingly, what happened, there was a stars on ice room for swimming, and Michael
Try the
Fox,
other
the
side.
instructor,
I think I might have picked up already.
Man, say, we were right on time. I tried.
Yeah, just a while, when I called back, and he was like, technically don't get off till 5:30.
and the
Hours, like,
gentleman, this is a night.
It was like the rest of the show that I banged the gavel.
Panic.
He kept not cutting.
She's presenting.
I mean, I kept saying to him, you're going to announce who you are, because, I mean, none of us know, you're just the guy holding the mic. And he tried, no, I said, well.
Well, you know what's awesome?
But-
You go to one of these swim meets, they have the best swimmers in the world there.
Like, oh, look at the
Turn it off, turn it back on. I
Well,
know.
more gold medals than anybody.
Well, Laura wound up with something.
In IT, you went to the
So
first
they
one
came
that
up
they
to us
always
and
use.
said,
Turn it on and turn it off.
you paid extra, so we're gonna give you.
Hard
You know how much we've paid people to tell us?
Okay, fine. You can see me in the back.
We can't talk about how easy it is when it's not working. Oh, there
To
you go.
watch Katie Ledecky's show, the admission price, $5.
I had an IT person in my office the other day, and they're talking about turning it on and off.
Oh,
And
oh, yeah.
they also having trouble, and they weren't, they're like, well, I don't really know. And I was like, okay, did you clear your browsing history? Did you turn it off? Did you make sure everything's updated? Did you turn it all the way off, not just restart, but turn it off? And they're like, oh, no, I haven't done those. I'm like, go try that. And
I think she just
there
did
should be
like.
like an easy button on the computer that
Right, all the things.
these steps.
Just a big red lever on the wall. You pull it down and you're just.
You know that where my run through all the things.
He's just pulling up and,
He's just gonna pull up, look around.
He's like, who is it?
But I think, I think
He
he
works.
reboot the system, was afraid.
He just drove around on his motorcycle,
Yes.
pulled me over on Spruce.
Well, how fast were you going?
I was in grade school.
27.
I was staying yesterday.
Like 2 hours after school.
But I
There was no kids around. There
Remember
was,
the Vietnam War?
Did she keep on calling us, letting them know?
No.
Kathy goes stuff
Oh,
on.
man.
I was-
Or something. And they're like, his wife,
I thought she worked in like, yeah.
or somewhere up there, right?
Yeah.
I guess they're like, yeah, can you let her know that she needs to like slow down? You're like,
They know her car.
But I,
so
He's
he's
like
like,
Vietnam War,
yeah.
I remember, well,
Like when you drive that road
Every
every single day.
he was the next to
I
be
could
drafted.
Yeah.
Oh,
Becomes
I
like,
did that.
it's knowledge.
We did that for a
You
year.
remember the draft?
But I got one ticket and I was like,
The draft.
I'm like, cruise control at 63. Can't pull me over for that.
They had two barrels, right?
I got pulled over one time because this one dude
Yeah.
was,
They stick their hand in there, they
Pass-
pull out a
it was
number,
like-
1 to 365.
you know, like typical Oregon driver, like gets the passing lane
And they
and
pull out a
speeds up.
date.
So we did that like 2
And
or
then they
3.
match up the numbers to the
Passing lanes,
dates, and that was your.
he
that
passed
you
me
were
again, I was
born
like,
on
I'm
that
not
date,
following
that was
you
your
anymore.
draft number.
Done with it.
Wow.
Passed him.
And it was the.
Of course that's the
first
rate.
draft after you were 18
That guy's probably
You know he's
laughing.
wrong, dude, he's like, where's that I can get this guy fast.
for the draft. So you turn 18 and
He's
then
like,
they
I'm
got
not-
the numbers and that's your number.
My
When I was
dad-
17, I was number 2.
He's gonna tell them.
When I was
Probably like,
Looking around.
he's like, right here,
Yeah,
Yeah, God,
that
that's why,
I just wanted him to like turn on the lights and
Figured he has a chance of-
maybe they would just scurry away like rats in the, when you turn the light on.
My brother.
Or he gets on the megaphone, he's like, you need to move, you can't camp here.
And, they agreed to.
I used to see that guy
Agreed
with
to
like,
wait
over
until
there,
after
the
he
shopping
graduated from college.
There was-
I saw him over there when he lost, like he lost his shopping cart.
I think it was one of these guys, but there was somebody walking around SOC last night and Sunday night just saying
They sent him.
some pretty aggressive, loud words.
Veterans Against the
We good to
Law.
go?
Yeah, probably the second.
Good job, Isaiah.
All
All right, now I gotta record it right there, so.
Okay, meeting starting.
You never had to go.
Change anything?
Recording in progress.
Hallelujah.
All the phones went off.
You're in.
All right, now I call this meeting to order, although I would like it noted that it started at 15 on the dot. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Declaration of potential conflict of interest, Kyle.
None.
Sue.
None.
Les. None. Mike.
I don't know.
Just a reminder that I work for the school district, but I do not speak for the school district. Public comment, anybody online? Okay.
Skip something.
What did I skip? Oh,
Right.
I did skip the most important thing, and although she's not here. We didn't have any signs. And you didn't give me anything to read either. Do
I
you?
apologize for that, yeah, I'm usually on the ball. Ashley is a great employee, she's our aquatic supervisor right now. She recently came back from some PTO, and she's just doing phenomenal work in leading our swim lesson program and helping with supervision of lifeguards, and really thankful to have her. I don't know if I missed anything else, Haley, but yeah, thank you, Ashley.
And wasn't she part of the team that did that
She
review?
was.
So we would like to add that too.
Well, I actually have a question about that. So we have an employee award system that recognizes employees who are just outstanding in the day-to-day activities. What happens when we have an employee that does something really above and beyond, like rescuing somebody from a pool? Do we have another level of award or some way that we can recognize them?
We do not necessarily have like something formal in place. I think we all try to take time to express our appreciation and commend that employee. I know probably all of us did that when Ashley had the situation with a couple of our other aquatic staff, but maybe there's something that we could put in place to give them extra.
Well, I mean,
One other thing I did is I shared, several of you commented in board comment that your appreciation noted their rescue, and I shared that with them in private conversation, and they were really thankful to have had that recognition by the board. I think that was nice.
But it's not just appreciation, it's like awe. I mean, you know, they did something that was really risky and dangerous and could have gone bad in so many ways, and they handled it perfectly. So, I mean, every once in a while when that happens, if there's something more we can do.
Yeah.
I'll give it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I see in Portland, at OHSU, they have, you get, I guess they do some sort of regular recognition, but then you see a board with lots and lots of things. It's called, they get a Portland Rose, and it's just, comment
I've
card.
seen those on their lapel, on their name tags and stuff.
Yeah,
I never knew what they were for.
It's just, well, but you do a written, like I say, hey, I really like how Kyle, OHSU employee, helped me get to my car, on this day. And then it goes up on a board, and I can come read it. So,
Nice.
Like a public recognition.
yeah, it's just like, oh, look, you know, we're just saying something positive about, you know, Isaiah did this, Haley did this, Chris did this.
I had some thought.
Yeah.
Idea.
I think with our new system, one thing that we are doing, Haley, feel free to step in, but we are sending out all of those cards that we get the pause for applause to all the staff, so we all get to see the different nominations each month. I don't think we're setting that publicly at this point, but maybe that's something we could do if the board felt like that would be worthwhile. So maybe
we
give
can
us
discuss it later. I mean, it doesn't have to take up board meeting time, but it's something that I think is worth thinking about.
Okay,
Thank you.
now we're on public comment. Did anybody miraculously join us? No? You don't want to sign a reading?
I didn't even come in.
Don't see anyone in either forum of the meeting.
Okay, correspondence, I saw the one piece from Chris Porter.
Yes.
Are we gonna address that later?
Yeah, under old business, Broadway Field update softball field project, we will have a discussion about the proposal that Chris alluded to in his correspondence.
Okay. Board meeting minutes from January 23rd.
What's an SDC?
System development chart.
Development chart.
I didn't find any errors.
Actual outline is, somewhere there's the word outline. And is it on this one? Circled it, so I don't know where it is right now. Oh, there it is. Under strategic plan update. the third line down,
Mhm.
it's 2 words instead of 1,
Which,
outline.
Thank you.
so I'll move that we accept the minutes and authorize Skylar to correct any scrivener's errors that show up. Is that what previously?
I don't know, I have a question about Levi's presentation. We delved into the area of flooring,
Uh-huh.
and the board, was listening and interested. I don't see that anywhere in here, so I didn't know if that belonged. I mean, it was a question that I brought up, and there, are some, public concerns about the flooring in the women's locker room.
Mhm.
And so I didn't know if that belongs in some comment in here.
It certainly can. It's not in there because it doesn't matter. It's in there, it's not omitted because it wasn't important or significant. Generally speaking, the wisdom that we've received from the Oregon, government ethics folks about public meeting notes is that we do not have to take word for word, notes about the discussion, that we're trying to summarize the discussion and keep the notes brief. And that's especially, prudent given that all of the recordings of our meetings are public records and, can be viewed on YouTube and are saved in the district archives. But if the board wants to have an addition to the meeting minutes, then that's certainly within their prerogative, and I'll take that direction and can add them, and we can review them at the next meeting, or Kyle can potentially edit his motion to say we want this included, please correct it.
Well, I guess my question is, how germane is it to? I'm fine either way, whatever you want to do, so if you want to include it, I'll amend my motion.
The only thing is, it's not an issue that's going away. And so I thought, because my board comment tonight is going to address something regarding to that. So I don't know whether, the board was interested in the situation based on what was happening, and I don't see any reference to that at all. And so I guess I would like to see something, because I know the scuttlebutt that I am being approached by is not going away. And I think it would be prudent to acknowledge that we're listening.
So under staff presentation, what would you like it to say? We can just add.
I just say, discussion, of, the flooring, the women's locker room is included.
That has been a significant issue over time. It always seems to come back to us. I was thinking about that today. I thought, well, maybe we should just strip the floor from all surfacing and go back to bare concrete.
So, I think the thing was not that we made any sort of decisions, but
No.
to indicate, to reflect that there was some board discussion about this and the board was interested
Right.
in hearing from maintenance.
Yeah, and that we didn't ignore,
Right.
where is it? If the public says, well, where is it? There it is.
It demonstrates that we heard.
And I think it's a potential, right now it's kind of a sleeping lion, that I want to make sure that we're listening and people know that, so that it doesn't become a, why didn't you fix this? Why didn't you say anything? And, well, we did. So I don't think it should be a dramatic comment. I just think it should be mentioned.
I think-
We mentioned it.
Yeah, discussion of women's locker room flooring.
Well, Levi's discussion was actually a general discussion about maintenance, but but he specifically spent time talking about women's locker room in general and the flooring specifically.
Right, because I asked him, because I've got some patrons talking to me about it, plus I'm also one that has lived in there. And that involved me talking to Justin, and, that's why the floor, mats are gone. So, anyway, I don't think it needs, and it sounded like Levi he knew some of it, but not the extent of it. And so it was an appropriate time for us to have that conversation, and the board was interested in, because it's a matter of safety, and we all want that.
For sure. So,
So here's I'll propose some language.
Okay.
So under staff presentation, the board received a presentation from the SEPRD Maintenance and Facilities team regarding the state of maintenance in the district, with emphasis on the condition of the women's locker room.
sure, sure.
Or locker room flooring.
Okay.
So is that an amendment to your motion?
Yes, I'm requesting that we add my language after the word team under staff presentation and remove all of the rest of the language.
So I second the motion with the suggestion.
Thank you, Celeste. All in favor signify aye, opposed nay. Kyle?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Celeste?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving along.
1 second, just for a point of clarification, would you like these meeting minutes brought back to the board in the March meeting?
No.
You can see that, or?
I would say edit them and then I will sign those.
Okay.
Skylar, I'll text you the language that,
That'd be great.
so you won't have to read.
Listen to the meeting, but that's great.
Review of the financials from January 2024.
Can you remind me, is SDIS for insurance?
Yes.
So some very large payments going out to them. Is it aligned with what, do we have, what have we done for an insurance audit? Do we have any kind of insurance audit to know?
Sorry, I'm not.
What are
I
coverages?
could surmise what an insurance audit is, but I don't know if I'm. really
Summary
They
of the coverage that
They
we.
just did it.
Hmm?
SDIS just came and evaluated all the, hold on, Mike, sorry.
Oh.
I forgot, Zoe pushed the chairs back for you this time.
Keep going.
SDIS,
Keep going.
that's really part of that.
Fight.
SDIS came to take a look at all the buildings and double check on, so I know the one you're talking about, that really big 58,000 one. So that is property, crime, all that.
For the year?
Yeah,
Okay.
for the year, it's just that time of the year, and, this was the first time since COVID that they were able to actually come down and physically inspect every single building, take a look at all the property. So, yeah, they gave us a pretty good, up-to-date,
Great,
view of the whole thing.
okay. And did we, is that aligned with what we thought we were gonna spend in insurance? Are we seeing an increase? I mean, I know
Yeah,
insurance is increasing across the
Yeah, it
board.
was definitely a little bit more.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit more reasonable, just like I said, they hadn't been able to really do an actual on-site. They just had to kind of take our word for everything and try to give us the best that they could. But I think that's going to be closer to what we'll see from here on out, now that they've got a better look.
They're actually really, typically very transparent and upfront with, the insurance resume. They gave us a heads up, several months ago and kind of explained the justification for that, and oftentimes it's, part of, the executive director's pitch at the conference. I didn't go to that session, but I know that it's typically something that they communicate really well about, just knowing that a lot of their members rely on that, and, the budgets are tight.
Do they make recommendations about how we can improve the safety or protect ourselves against swamps?
That one I would have to check in with IT kind of didn't mean to.
Yeah,
but
they
I know you
do.
probably-
They have in the past. They've offered general suggestions and they'll issue a written report if need be. I think typically, at least in my time, they haven't found major improvements that we can make to minimize our bill.
Well, I mean, not to minimize the bill necessarily, but to improve the safety or.
Yeah. They'll make general, hey, have you guys,
Workers' comp.
you guys checked on this? How often do you do this type of review or this type of walkthrough? I will say, we just completed our, best practices.
So put it on that, no, go ahead.
So, we typically complete this every year, but we get a 10% discount on our insurance because we have certain best practices in place. And this year, the emphasis is on, public meetings, and, we already have all of the things in place to be in full compliance with, that best practices assessment, so 10% discount coming our way.
Well, that's $5,000, or $6,000.
I had an insurance-related question. Is it okay to discuss it right now? I know that SDIS is also, we were getting our workman's comp insurance from them. But we will be switching over to SAFE?
Yes.
Now, we will cut SAFE a check, or does the money go through SDIS?
We prepaid at the beginning, so we still have a balance with them. And then so that's how they do it. So every month I submit another, report to them, and they just deduct it. They're a little bit different than how SDIS did it. SDIS just said, end of the year, give me a report of how much you did, cut me a check for it. SAFE wants you to actually update it monthly, and then they remove it from the credit that you already had. So it's a little bit different, but so far it's been going well.
I wanted to ask, Recology is duplicated. Is there a reason for that? It's up there
Well,
as,
so one was on the 5th, so I think we probably got it
right,
towards start of the year with the holidays. And
and the 30th.
So it's just a timing issue.
yeah, it's just going to be timing.
Okay, and what is RE Investment Company? It wasn't very much. But
Yeah, so that one is, Skylar, you even remind me.
The, equipment
Thank
rental
you.
service
ERS.
company, ERS.
It's the one over by the old high school,
Yeah.
so that's just their remittance.
On the north side of town, yeah.
Yeah,
The one that's changed names like 10 times since I lived here.
I've only known the name because they usually have a big banner.
Yeah.
Telling me which name it is.
$55 to drill a half-inch hole. They have a rent one.
Thanks, Chris. Any
Yeah.
other questions that Chris can help with while he's up here?
Sue?
I'm good for now.
Pondering.
I kept going, when I saw you walk across the pool, I think it was this morning,
yeah, probably.
I have like 20 questions for you. So what's CBM Systems?
CBM Systems is the custodial contract for the SRC. Yeah.
Thank you. I've asked that before.
For the next month, I'll put out another
Thank
vendor
you.
list. I meant to do that this one and then just kind of got sidetracked. But yeah, we'll update that one and get that out.
Just a general question on the revenue and expense report. The SRC is really low on the revenue side. And I recognize that it's taken us a little longer to get our renter in there, and I guess a part of that balance is gonna be on the sale of the building, right?
Yeah.
So, are we okay?
So right now, I think we're doing all right. I mean, we're definitely keeping a close eye on everything.
Okay.
I'm wondering, Chris, is any of our like basketball rentals?
So I just got one of the checks today, so I mean, that's another.
So that wouldn't be in this
6,000
one,
right there.
yeah.
There's another outstanding.
What are they paying to rent the gym on a Saturday?
So total for their season, it was just about 6,200 for their season per group. So I mean, we're looking at 12,400 for the two groups,
Two groups.
and they're at the same time too, which is perfect. So
Mhm.
we'll have to be in each June. So that'll be on this next month.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Chris.
I'm just waiting for Sue to.
No, I mean,
Okay,
thank you.
Yep.
would someone like to make a motion?
I move that we accept the financials as presented.
Thank you, Celeste. Do we have a second?
Second.
Kyle, all in favor, signify aye, opposed, nay. Kyle?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Celeste?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Staff presentation, Haley Weldon.
Billy, you want to share?
No?
Okay, you gotta move your,
I can be up close personal, so it's okay.
We need to get a clip on it.
Or we can move it
To walk around.
closer.
yeah,
And he's picking you up.
Haley, in about 5 to 10 minutes, I'm gonna have to leave, and it's not because of you.
Oh, it's okay.
I promise.
Where are you going?
I'm going over to the convention center for the city's, meeting on their strategic plan.
Bye, Chris.
Have a good one, guys.
thanks, Chris.
We need to be involved in
I was interested also just for, basic citizen.
All right, it's really hard with that miniature.
That picture was not taken this afternoon.
No, yesterday, I drove through sleet, snow, and rain in a course of a mile.
Sound like a postal worker.
Yeah. In dark of night?
Yes, it was the dark of night.
Yeah.
Well, hill or your hill?
School
Braver
hill.
than I am.
I was surprised you guys didn't have,
I had snow
delay or,
this morning.
snow route this morning maybe.
I mean, it was
Yeah,
it was
it was a
slushy.
little scratchy,
We had
but it
folks-
wasn't too bad.
We had the folks from Portland and, they said there was 3 to
Well,
4 inches.
we only have to worry about
Greasy.
Oh, and last
53
night,
though.
when it was sleet
As long as
and
we can
snow,
get to 53,
there
we're
were
good.
regular cars driving like they were heading to Portland, and I'm going, uh-oh.
You good, Mike?
What's that?
You good?
Maybe so, I don't know, we'll see if it rolls.
All right, ready to go.
Okay, hi, I'm Haley Wilder, your HR and admin coordinator for Sunset Empire. So essentially, we're just gonna go through kind of some of the daily things I do / things that we've implemented. So evaluations, vector solutions, it used to be safe personnel, our culture assessment, pause for applause, and just some of the marketing duties that I've taken over. So our onboarding process, essentially the offer letter goes out from me. They come in, they do some paperwork, they sit down in the office with me pretty much all day. I take them on a tour of the entire district. I try to hit at least every manager to say hi, all that fun stuff. And then they come back to the office with me and we do all of our training. We actually have also incorporated Isaiah into this onboarding process where he sits down with them, goes through all of the executive time, how to clock in, take sick time, vacation, all of that stuff. So that's been awesome.
Haley, time out,
Yeah.
just can you go back a slide? What happens before the offer letter?
Just the interview
What's
process.
the selection process?
So it really just depends on the manager, and / the department. So for like youth programs, me and Aaron sit down, we interview the people. We do either Indeed or website, Facebook to just kind of get people in, do the application, and we just honestly we try to interview just everybody who applies. Just give everybody that chance if we have that time.
So, I'm trying to get a sense for what the nature of the employment world is out there. Is it tough? And the second thing I want to know is who has the authority to actually hire somebody?
So it's essentially the manager that needs the position, and I'm in there as kind of like the outside perspective, like these are the things
They
that
have
did
to
really
follow all the
good.
rules.
Yeah. But essentially the manager that needs the person is going to be the one to say yes, let's hire that person. And then.
But then the actual, they said, yes, I want to hire this person, but is it Skylar that says, okay, and approves the hire, or is it the
No.
manager?
It's really the manager
Okay,
with Haley's
okay.
support though. If Haley's not willing to sign off, and we have had some situations like this, but it's pretty rare.
Mhm.
But yeah, she's kind of, before we had an HR person, about 2 years ago, I was doing all this, working with individual managers and sitting in on interviews and making those decisions with them, but, it's just kind of, I think this was a significant efficiency improvement for my schedule, so.
But Haley is authorized to give a thumbs up or
Yes.
thumbs down on
Yes.
any employee. Okay. That's
How do we have any, what do we do to sort of guard against any kind of bias or discrimination in the hiring process?
Essentially me. I try as best as possible to be just the outside perspective. I do answer questions or ask questions in the process and all that kind of stuff. But I check these people's references. Any like application that they send in gives like the employment, like their past employment and all that kind of stuff. I need to get their phone numbers, so I call from those. This is gonna sound silly, but I'm not from here, I don't know these people. I did not grow up with these people. So that kinda helps, but, yeah, it's, was
Bless you.
school to how to be an ethical person, so.
And you know this, I'm sure, but maybe the rest of the board might not, is that Oregon has some really strict requirements on what we can ask for in terms of application information and previous pay history we cannot ask for. There's other things that we can't ask for, and we really encourage everyone to apply and kind of try to make that really clear, I think, in all of our application materials. Mike? Oh.
Do you routinely run background checks for every position?
Yes.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, I think you were asking maybe about the hiring pool, so to speak. And you can speak to now, but I can say from my perspective, there was a time where we really struggled to get applicants a few years ago, where the pool was very shallow. And it was a very big struggle, especially maintenance positions, custodial positions, lifeguards. And I think that culture, I think, has changed, and you can talk more about why. But I attribute it to maybe the job market is a little bit better, and also I just think we're doing a better job of pushing our information out and being responsive to applicants when they do apply. I think that's part of the battle, is getting to them quickly after they submit and getting them in for interviews and moving swiftly as much as we can.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, and as soon as somebody applies, I try to call them right away, and just get them scheduled for an interview, whether it's in a week or whatever the timeline is, but I try to make contact as soon as they apply. So we're just gonna kind of talk about, evaluations for our part-time staff versus our full-time staff. Evaluations for our part-time staff are typically done in June. The entire process takes about 2 weeks, so a staff does a self-evaluation, and then the manager does their evaluation. They sit down together and they kind of just talk through each point. We are kind of looking at changing some of the wording on a few of these things and making it more like department specific, because obviously lifeguards do a different job than our youth programs manager or staff. So just looking at some of those, but for now, this is kind of our general, this is what everybody does. And yeah, it's the comment section, which I really like. It actually keeps people accountable and really starts that conversation. So like our personal goals, I'm sorry if it's kind of hard to see, but for like what your personal goals will be, like you have that opportunity to really talk to your manager and connect and let them know like where you're at / where they need to help you get to where you're at. And so I think it's a really good time to have just kind of that conversation.
And so during this time, is this where you would also talk about like development opportunities, like extra training that somebody could participate in, and how often do we, like, what's our mechanism for offering training or skilling up?
Yeah, honestly, I think I do a pretty good job when things come in, like through SBAO, if something comes in for like an off-site training or something like that. I think I know our staff pretty well to be able to tell like, oh, this person really should go to this. And I just kind of go to them and say, hey, we have this training. Like, Skyler's been really supportive of our staff doing this kind of trainings and getting out and just getting some more of that personal professional development. So there's that.
We're consistently pushing, ORPA has a list of training that I think are really great, especially for the program specific. They'll have ones for lifeguards, they'll have ones for summer camp leader type positions. And then, yeah, we use some of the local resources. The SBDC, the Classic Community College, has trainings on customer service. I know that we're trying to get some of our patron relations specialists too, and yeah, just keep moving folks along, helping them progress in their career and their skills.
I gotta say, I just really appreciate your diligence and doing, because, for example, my son is not a Providence employee because they took too long to get to him. I know HSU loves him. And also, thank you, because I think what you're doing is, I mean, I'm just so grateful that we have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our evaluations for our full-time staff look a little bit different. I use mine as an example, so I didn't make these questions down. But, so mine looks a little bit different. The full-time staff, we get this kind of survey done, and it goes to pretty much everybody that we come in contact with a normal day. So mine was at the entire district. For example, Justin's was more of like his overview and that kind of stuff. Aaron was more specific to youth programs people. So we do this survey. The staff gets this is kind of their opportunity to tell us how they're feeling. And honestly, it comes from Skylar, so it gives them a little bit more reason to be honest and kind of get better feedback than we would just me and Skylar kind of sitting down and talking. So I can talk myself up.
Is this anonymous or no?
Yes.
It's-
So they can still write in comments?
Yes.
There's a place, this isn't all of the questions, but there's places for them to write in.
So that's not entirely anonymous.
Well, the point of an anonymous survey is not the point to recognize people's language or anything like that. It's to take the feedback, hear it, and then just move forward. I see where you're getting at.
I just come from a place where in my workplace, the surveys are sent out and they are evaluated on whether or not you can actually say what you want to say or not.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean, it's not anonymous because there's comments?
So if you...
We do the same thing.
Yeah, if you can put it, so I could say, my interaction with Haley in the front office, was this. And then, well, gee, I wonder who said that. The choices are A, B, or C, like it. I would just be careful, I guess, with offering those opportunities for people to fill in. That's why yours doesn't have that opportunity for comment, because it makes it not anonymous.
Mine was
But mine did have comments.
It has, I think it has summaries. Then
It had opportunities for employees to share.
The one that I sent, the 360, it doesn't, I promise. So maybe
Definitely did in
the
the
first,
past, yeah.
the first version. But when Erica and I, when Erica was on the board, we removed that for that very reason.
So, and what my organization, we actually have our HR person summarize. And because not all individual comments actually are appropriate, and sometimes those can weigh too heavy on an individual, so.
Well, I guess in that sense, I think it is still anonymous, because I don't provide them with the full report of what people said.
Okay.
But I hear you, I guess I never thought of that. I'm wondering though, like from your perspective, if that's a good, like, the trade-off, right? Because I think that comment opportunity is really important. I know for me, like, sometimes my feedback doesn't fit nicely in one of these questions or boxes if it's like a A, B, C, D or yes, no answer, right? And so I can appreciate that. I do. I just am wondering, like, okay, am I giving up something by not having any comment?
Maybe the question would be for staff, or like, how do you feel about filling, like, would you be more willing to fill this out, that part for them? Because I honestly don't fill them out at work if they have that ability to be identified.
You'll skip the comment box?
I skip the whole survey.
Yeah, because you can tie the rest of your answers.
See, there were things with, like,
Yep.
for me, how many years, 35, and you're female and I work in ICU, oh, guess what, that's Sue.
Yeah.
So it
Okay,
became,
we would've asked that.
And I'm not trying, like, I'm just.
No, I
food
think
for
this
thought.
is good discussion. I never thought of that, but
So-
you're right.
And I guess, like, I would just
You have
say,
to be
like,
very
from
careful.
like, my perspective, and I think a lot of the other managers too, like, it's not our intention to try to identify people. Like, we don't go into this like, oh, let's identify who said what, And I'm sure they probably do in their heads, but they try to keep it out.
I'm not saying that you
Oh, we could.
are.
You're
What
saying
I'm
that,
saying
yeah.
is maybe
Yeah.
the employees would
Yeah.
fill it out differently or fill it out at all,
So,
if that were
And I
different.
think part of our guard against it, the way we do it, because we do have answers, my organization, but they look for themes. So if, for instance, more than a third of the people are sort of saying the same sort of thing, that would then be the manager's opportunity to deliver, like that we're hearing consistently that you talk too much during meetings, or whatever it is, like that's across the board a thing that's going on. And let's talk about how you could step back in some cases, so, as opposed to giving them every single comment that every single staff makes, because that can be really demoralizing.
Yeah.
That's good.
Anyway,
Thank you.
just thought.
That's good. I had never thought of that. Ready?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's it, that's essentially, and then we do the evaluation as well. So there's those two, so we do the survey and then just the paper as well. So Vector Solutions, also Safe Personnel, however you remember it. We use them for kind of our training. It's more of an online training platform, but this gets kind of our just general, everybody needs to take this training, so everybody needs to be on the same page. So there's the 5 that we focus on. It goes out once a year, so everybody gets your yearly training. I'm sure a lot of you do yearly training. But these are kind of just our 5 every single person in the district has to do. And then it goes into more like department specific. So these programs does like playground supervision, aquatics does their in-services, those kind of things. But these ones are kind of just our baseline. So sexual harassment, discrimination, workplace bullying, DEI is kind of a big one. It's kind of somewhere that we really want to focus and grow, so we've included that one, and then just workplace injury and prevention. So just kind of the general baseline, everybody's on the same page, and then we send them off to their departments, and they do some more training with them. And then it's just really fun.
You in the water? That's not you?
I didn't think so.
I think that's, well, first of all, there's
Yes.
Betty. That's Bonnie's class, and I think that's his, Mindful Waters.
Yeah.
And I'm not in that, although I don't know what I'm gonna be in. Haven't figured it out. I'm in a state of flux.
I would say that Vector Solutions is a benefit of our insurance provider, so STIS is the one that helps us get access to all these great trainings, and we don't have to third party out to a different resource. So, and I'm actually, I think the trainings are really good.
Yeah. So when it was our culture assessment, I'm sure you kind of heard about it, but it launched on December 14th. We had 48 responses with an 80.9 completion rate. So out of those 48 people, 80% of them completed it all the way through. We have a total of 53 employees with 5 hours plus a week. So they're with us on a more regular basis. I wanted to kind of narrow it down because we do have kind of seasonal staff that aren't always with us, slash they go to college and they'll work a week with us and then come back. But so out of that, it means 90% of our employees participated. I do want to throw out, there was a lot of comment boxes in there, so it was really awesome to get that feedback and be able to kind of just analyze those trends and stuff. One thing I do want to hit on that, when we did kind of this word cloud of everything, they had to submit 1 or 2 words that they felt the culture of SEPRD was, and the biggest one was family and community. So just kind of a good job all around. This is our new Pause for Applause system. I'm sure Scott kind of already hit it, but the staff newsletter went out, so this is kind of just, it just shows the employee of the month, gets a little write-up, and then the Pause for Applause submissions. I just took a picture of all of them and laid them all out in the newsletter, and that went out to all staff. The newsletter is brand new, so we are still adding things like program highlights, or it could be just individual highlights throughout the month. This goes out on the 1st of every month. So.
To employees?
Yes, this is an internal one, and then on my marketing page, I'm working on an external one.
So we add the board?
To the internal email list? Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have to BCC it up.
What?
Remember, you said that we have to BCC the board, so you
Yes.
can't reply all.
Well, this does go through MailChimp, so you can't even, nobody can reply, or it'll just be reply to my email. So, as you guys kind of know, I took over some of the marketing for SEPRD, and I just kind of wanted to do where we're at now since I took over, and then kind of the things that I've been working on to start implementing. So, Facebook, like our visits, are up 22%, so it takes like a general of how you were doing slash how you're doing now. We're up 22%, so just in the last 2 weeks of me doing all that. Instagram visits we're up 80%. Content interactions, we're up 7.7%. And then our organic reach, which I actually just checked today, we're actually at 12,000. so not the 7,000, but, we're up like, it's like 101%. So our Facebook and Instagram, all that kind of stuff is on the rise.
I don't know if, this is connected, I'm not sure if you saw it, but on our website, it tracks our unique page views and things like that, and since, about the first of the year, we're up around 15%, which is good. Could be attributed to lots of things, but I think having more active social media certainly helps us with that.
So are we, the board members, in any of those documents? So people could
I'd like to get the newsletter.
find us and,
Yes, yeah, I can add it. So actually, our external newsletter, the first time it's going to go out is March 1st. Because I just have taken everything and I've just kind of been slowly implementing as best as I can. But yes, I can add you to all the newsletters. So we're going to have an internal newsletter that's really just based for staff, and then an external newsletter as well for community members and all that. So I can add you to both.
can I just ask somebody to make sure my name is spelled right?
Of course, I can do that. So yeah, our newsletter is going to go out the first of the month. I like the employee of the month, so each newsletter will highlight employee of the month events and programs. The biggest thing is linking back to our website, which is going to drive that unique views back to our website up even higher. One thing that I really like to focus on both social media and website are call to actions. So I mean, like, actually getting somebody to do something. So we can tell them all about our stuff, but it's actually getting them to do something. So driving them back to the website, calling the front desk, all those kind of things. Once we try to put it in about everything that we do now. So back to the website. Oh, our new subscribers receive like a welcome message from MailChimp. So as soon as they go in and they say, I want to subscribe, it sends out an automatic thing, hey, welcome. So we're still working on like how to target what they're actually signing up for. Not that exciting. Working on all that.
Do they like pick like areas of interest? I've never used MailChimp, so.
Well, so that's what, it does do that. I have never used MailChimp either, so I'm still just kind of going in and working and seeing what they can. So you can design
Like when they
certain.
sign up,
Mhm.
so like, I want
Yeah.
cool information.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, they can do that, and I'm still just like working on the bugs of how it works, because it connects our website and MailChimp together. Learning some new things.
How are people signing up? I was just looking at our website.
Yeah, if you go all the way down, it should say subscribe here. I don't know on the mobile app, actually.
It may not have a lot of functionality on the mobile app, so I agree. I can't remember if that was.
Well, I'm not on the app, I'm just on the website.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant.
Mobile,
The mail,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
You weren't in there today, but Celeste was, and I think, maybe you can correct me if I have the number wrong, but the survey that they did for the strategic plan, we got about 450-ish responses, and I want to say the number was 56% of the respondents indicated that they want their news about the district from social media and from email, which is different because when we did this a few years ago, almost everyone said program guide. So
Maybe we got them off.
yeah, like taking a little break on the program guide. Yeah.
We cut the cord.
Yeah, and just more people using social media now. I don't know. Yeah.
One, I guess, good thing with COVID is we all kind of got a little more tech savvy.
Yeah, not all of us, but we.
You know how to use Zoom.
Don't talk about me. Talking about my parents. That age group of people.
All right, any questions for Haley? I mean, other than what we've already.
I think you should maybe share the completion of your degree.
Oh, yes, I finished my master's degree last November. Thank you.
In what?
Oh, communications. Sorry, and then I actually just started my human resource management certificate. So I should be done with that in April, hopefully.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Haley, very much. Great. right, old business, ready, go.
Old. Emphasize the old. Yeah, let me look at my notes here. I feel like I'm not gonna say it.
Don't jinx.
All right, appreciate everybody being here. There's a bunch of stuff, and so we'll try to get through it and answer questions and things like that, so appreciate this. It's really nice to see some of these things getting much closer and being able to be checked off. So first item under occupancy, the fire suppression system. So I think I shared, the way this works is the engineer and Convergent, which is the company that we're using, they submitted plans in early January. They got the plans back, then they resubmit, and now I think we're good to go with the project, kicking off in March, on either March 11th or March 18th. Those are both Mondays. Looks like it's probably going to be about 8-ish weeks, depending on how things go. They are going to keep the current alarm active in the building, so we won't have any gaps there. Kind of trying to figure out the schedule a little bit, moving around some programs and things like that as needed, but I don't think there'll be a significant impact to any of our operations or programs.
Does this include any of the, like, 'cause I know there were some parts where it's like construct. So,
Yeah, it doesn't. This is just the system. Yeah, so that'll be maybe like phase 2 of updating the building to get it up to code, the basic code.
Yeah.
I was wondering if the work was gonna begin after PBL.
Yeah.
Will there be any conflict with any use of the gym by Seaside Kids?
I don't think there will be. Our contractors that we're working with, they know that we program this space heavily, and they know that they'll have to work around that. And we'll move programs around a little bit as well. But yeah, the last PBL tournament in the SRC is this weekend, so that will be done. And most of the rentals are done already, but basketball rentals, they're done already, or they'll be done after this week.
We had kind of talked a little bit a while ago about maybe like weekends or evening work, or is that?
We had, I think that's still a consideration for when they're going to be in those heavily utilized spaces, the youth programs, classrooms, preschool classrooms, and then they might be doing things that are more invasive to programs. Yeah, there's some possibility there. I think they're working with a local contractor, Inland, for a lot of the electrical work, and I think they're kind of still honing in the schedule with Inland. Inland's actually helping with the softball field project as well, so it seems like there's a lot of coordination and activity for them. In terms of number 2, so happy again to share, we are on the Planning Commission agenda. The packet was published today on the City of Seaside website. I saw the public notice in the Daily Historian, which was required. There's no written comment in the Planning Commission packet. I think let's take that for what it is. But in the packet, there's recommendations from city staff about the project, and I do think that barring something unforeseen, then Tuesday will be a successful meeting.
Tuesday?
Yeah, a week from Tuesday. Yeah. So our team will be there in full force. Chris from Klosh Group will be there, possibly Jeff from Klosh. Brandon from Scott Edwards will be there. I know Celeste said that she would be there, and Kyle said that he would be there. I don't know if other board members will also have at least 2 community members coming. I shared this, but I will not be there. I was planning on being at the February one or the January one, but I just have a previous commitment next Tuesday that I can't move. So I think it'll be fine, and trust in the team that we have assembled.
I don't know that we need more board members there, because then we end up with a quorum.
Right, but do we have another staff that's going to be able to?
Yeah, Darren will be there.
there?
I think Levi and or Justin will also be there. Not everybody that I mentioned is planning to offer kind of comment, but
just because they have questions.
yes.
So I thought we were supposed to show up to January or February, but now we don't come. I mean, like, I'm not to come.
No, you are.
I'm planning on being there.
great. I think it's great if you're all there. I am only saying I don't know if all 5 of the board members need to each submit public comment in support. I think it would be fine, adequate to probably have 1 or maybe 2 submit something kind of on behalf of the board or speaking as an individual board member, but representing kind of the thoughts of the board.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, actually, I wish I would have thought of that, actually, because we probably should have had something brought to this meeting. But would it be okay if we take a second and
Yeah.
jot down some sentiments that we could say that, like, is the board comfortable?
The other thing that you can do is you can designate an appointee of the board to work on that, and they can circulate it as long as the board doesn't deviate from that, prescribed lane, basically, then that's still.
I move that we appoint Celeste as that coordinator.
All right. You make a note of that. Well, you lost Kyle, he's your seconder.
What?
You're a second.
I will second that.
Okay, all in,
Third, fourth, and fifth.
all in favor, signify aye, opposed nay, Sue.
What? I mean, I'm supposed to say yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Celeste?
Yep.
Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Great job, Celeste. You're our
Good idea.
communications expert anyway. You always draft the language.
And just a reminder that the meeting is at 6. Our item on the agenda is, I think, the first item, but there's some other stuff. And in my experience with planning commission meetings, they can sometimes go long. So I don't know if you need to stay after our item is brought before the commission members.
Okay. Yay.
Yeah, I think it's really positive. Yeah, I'm hoping next Tuesday will be a great, momentous day for us, one that we've been working towards for a long time. Certainly not the end, but a good step forward.
It's kind of crazy that you found out about being on the agenda through a public notice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
kind of,
my daily historian subscription paid off.
I was thinking, it'd be great to.
Get reimbursed.
I can't afford all these digital subscriptions to all the little community papers, they charge for everything. It'd be great if the district or the board, if we had our own account, or, you could circulate news articles as they come down to you, to email us copies of letters and stuff like that.
I could look into that. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
that's a worthwhile. I wonder if there's a group membership where
I was
everybody
on
can
the,
have access.
at the college board, and their packet, every board packet, monthly packet would include media reports, and it would have copies of anything related to the college, anything going on at the college. The board would see that in their packet.
They certainly have a lot of that. But,
I was on that board, but I went to a ton of those meetings.
All right.
Item B. So, get my notes here. Whew. This has been very, very heavy and intense work right now, the softball field project. If you have been on the north side of the SRC, you can see there's heavy construction on the goal is to improve that space to make it safe for large trucks to come through that way so that they don't have to use the service road, but eventually that space will be a parking lot. But it's pretty impressive the amount of rock that's already been deposited and crushed there and laid out. They've gone all the way up to the edge of the building, at the edge of gym, that entrance right outside of gym 2, and happy to show you around there. But yeah, it's a lot. That's one of the things that they're able to do right now. They're sort of, I wouldn't say they're on hold, but I think the work will begin a little more in earnest next week. That's when the HFTF will be offline, or at least that's the schedule as I understand it right now. Could still be adjusted. After that, there's a bunch of other components of the project. There's the demolition of the outbuilding, that's the brown building where SEPRD has some storage. There is obviously beginning to relocate the Hirsch family training facility. And there is, just a lot of other things. I have discussed this all with you, but one of the opportunities that has come up is that this area, and particularly our baseball, softball teams, are in desperate need of indoor hitting space. And moving the Hirsch Family Training Facility offline takes that opportunity away from those athletes and youth in our community at a time when really they need it the most as they prepare for their season. And that's a really heavily utilized facility this time of year, programmed almost all the time when school is not in session and on the weekends as well. So there's been some discussion, actually a lot of discussion between the school district and SEPRD to temporarily relocate the indoor batting cage facility inside Gym 2 of the SRC. And I think we've worked through some of the initial concerns and questions that each of us had about how that would work, how that would be managed. And I feel pretty confident in presenting that idea conceptually back to the board. And to be transparent, just based on the timeline as I understand it, this needs to happen pretty soon. So what I'm hoping that the board can consider and we can discuss tonight is that they would give me authority to sign either an MOU, I think it's going to be an MOU, or an IGA, a new document that would lay out how this would work, protect the district's asset in Gym 2 or assets in Gym 2, lay out the financial responsibilities, and kind of, as an IGA does, sort of designate and delegate responsibilities of how this will move forward.
So it was brought to my attention today that this whole proposal has not been run by Seaside Kids, who owns all of that equipment.
Yeah, Seaside Kids has been, the designee of Seaside Kids has been informed of this, and they have brought up no objections. I think one of the reasons why Seaside Kids has not been as involved is because, to my knowledge, Seaside Kids was okay with, sorry, I think the right word was, accepted that the HFTF was not going to be available as a resource for them, for their teams this spring, and was planning on moving forward with a successful season without that resource. I think if we're able to have this change, we would follow the same scheduling priorities as we do with the HFTF and make this space available to Seaside Kids teams outside of when the school district is using it.
I think maybe upon hearing this conversation that I had today with a member of Seaside Kids, it's sort of, so Seaside School District is wanting to move the Seaside Kids property into Sunset Empire Park and Rec, but the MOU or the IGA or whatever that's going to protect us and all that, I feel like Seaside Kids, I mean, it's their equipment and their things that are going to be in our building. I mean, the school district, are they really involved in making that agreement, I guess? I mean, they're going to be the ones using the space, but it's not.
I think some of the equipment is Seaside School District.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But I think that's a fair point. What I think is an important consideration is that right now the responsibility for installation and removal of this hitting system, the nets protecting the gym, and the installation of a adequate flooring surface would fall on the school district. And I don't think, as to my knowledge, I don't think we're expecting Seaside Kids to contribute anything. Yes, it is their equipment, but it's the same equipment that would have been used had the HFTF been available. Maybe they don't want it in the gym, I don't know. I could reach out and ensure that. I'm not sure what the holdup might be from their perspective.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like maybe, because, I mean, I feel like it's easy for us to forget that there are 3 parties in that particular building. The rest of it, the softball field and all that, it's us and the school district now. But in that particular building, there are 3 of us. And I mean, I don't imagine that they're going to have an issue. But I also feel like we need to remember that there are 3 of them, and the MOU and the IGA and all that. It's 3 parties.
I agree. Yeah, basically, it's up to the school district to indemnify us, as to any liability or risk, but, Seaside Kids has some risk that they need to work out with the school district with, someone else
And then we
handling
need to
their
hear it.
equipment. What if they should drop one of the machines or something, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not inherently designed to be moved. I mean, they are being moved, obviously, but like, I mean,
But I think an IGA would be appropriate with the school district. I'm not sure how binding an MOU would be with Seaside Kids or what type of agreement we need. This letter that from Mr. Corder is, pretty straightforward. But it basically should be the school district asking us to do that.
well, and I mean, my big questions when you brought this up were just, you know, does this impact our programming? Which, you know, you assured we can kind of move things around, that's fine. And then, you know, I just want to make sure that we are not, you know, if they go in and somebody gets injured on our property or whatever, using this machine, they get hit in the head and have a concussion or whatever, that it's not our insurance that's gonna bear the brunt of that. Or if, you know, they leave one of the machines running all night long and it catches on fire, that's, you know, I just wanna make sure we're covered.
Yeah.
I would propose that it not be included in the existing IGA. I think it just opens up too much, so I would just propose that we have another agreement, just a separate quick agreement. I don't think it has to be, but it does seem if we're using, if it's Seaside Kids owns equipment, it seems like it should be a three-way.
It's temporary, although
And
it's
I would,
possible they might need an agreement for up to 2 years, you never know.
I was just gonna say, I would like an end date when we get our gyms back.
Yeah.
Or, you know, a very definitive, this is when we're gonna be done.
Yeah, at least, the draft of the agreement, or the draft of the MOU it was worked on today, indicates that it will be in effect for the 2024 softball and baseball season, which I believe is concluded around Friday before Memorial Day, so. I think maybe there's some opportunity for us to extend based on users, and maybe there's baseball and softball in the summer that could take advantage of this space while the HFTF is still offline, or maybe we don't need it anymore at that point.
One of the things I kind of wonder though, you know, I understand why we're talking about this, but like I'm kind of wondering about like, why is this process inherently any different than any other third party coming in and using our space, like PPL, who brings in some of their own equipment? Like what, like,
Because it's permanent, basically. They're walling off a section of our gym and saying, this is for us, versus PBL is transient.
that somebody could still hurt themselves,
Correct.
right? Somebody could still, something could get broken, something could get lost. Like the risk, like is the risk that much different? Now, I'm just wondering, like, why so much attention on this particular process versus, do you know what I mean? Like what?
For me, I guess it's because it is like a permanent fixture in our building.
It's not, I mean, it's
Well,
permanent for that time.
yeah.
Is that what you mean? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not more permanent than the changes we made for like the lease agreement with the Northwest Regional Re-
Yeah.
Fair.
I think for me, and I'm only speaking for myself, not for anybody else, this softball field project has just, it's been a long, complicated one, and it's hit on some nerves that all of us had, right? And I'm not breaking news, right? That's common knowledge, I think, in the community. It's just been something that's been a very, I wouldn't say controversial, but just like a hot button topic for a couple of years, right? As this project has been worked through, and this is just like another kind of bend in that road, and it's sort of like there's a lot of focus and attention on softball field project, and now this is like, like a bend that none of us were really anticipating or would like to have on our plate, but it's there, and maybe that's why. It's just we're all a little bit more, I think, sensitive about this.
So I agree, and that's why I'm checking us on it,
Yeah.
actually, is to make sure that we're not pulling forward any of that because we have a new IGA, we rectified a lot of the challenges in the agreement, we have people working in the best interest to move things forward, and I don't want us to pull forward past prickliness
Sure.
that isn't necessary or helpful, and so that's why I'm questioning, like, oh, well, if this was another group, would we
Well, we
necessarily?
still want an IGA and we would still want Seaside Kids to be part of it, yes, because it's their stuff.
Or a lease.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a
Under
lease,
agreement.
why not just do a lease for 24 months?
Yeah,
That's
I
what
think
they're using the
it gets a little tricky just because we know that there's other user groups that want
Yeah.
access to that space. So it can't really just be
It's not an exclusive.
SSD's, Seaside School District's property.
Yeah.
And originally, and I don't know if that's how the nets will be set up, but originally the hope was that we would be able to collapse the nets, against the wall, and that for the most part, the gym would still be able to be used, not probably for basketball, because there would still be hanging cables and things like that, but for, our youth programs especially, they would be able to utilize the gym. So,
I just don't want us to be throwing up too many roadblocks that get in the way of what we've worked really hard, which is to set the partnership right, which I think we've made great progress at doing it. And so I don't want us throwing up roadblocks unnecessarily.
you have questions?
Well, I'm just, how did we communicate with Seaside Kids to say,
Skylar has a seat on the board.
It's Skylar, Justin does. I will communicate with the board president and double book for this Friday meeting, but maybe I can unbook myself from the foundation meeting and attend that meeting and make sure that Seaside Kids is aware and that they're in support of this effort.
I think it would be good since they just kind of acknowledged that you get a spot
Yeah.
to at least make this next one. If it's in
I
conflict
was
with.
waiting to come to a meeting until I got a signed agreement back. I've heard that it has been signed, but I haven't seen the agreement, so.
I saw the meeting that we got.
I think I want to be mindful of some of my previous career experiences with SEPRD and make sure that I have explicit board approval to move forward with either signing an IGA or the MOU with the school district on this project, or if the board doesn't want to provide that to me, I understand, but what protocols, or what do you want in place to ensure that the district is protected, I guess, or that the board's interests are represented? And I only say that the timeline is like exceptionally tight, just because of this is when our board meeting is. I didn't feel like it was ethical to have a board decision about this before a public meeting, and in honest transparency, they're hoping to really start installation of the netting system as early as like Monday of next week. So there's some work to do in between now and then, but I want to just see what the board thinks about providing me that ability to sign an agreement if one's drafted, or if there's a designee from the board that they'd like to want to work with me on that.
I think you should have the authority to make agreements with Seaside Kids or the school district with an IGA or whatever is appropriate, as needed to expedite the project. So I will move that we do that.
and I'll second.
All in favor, signify aye. Opposed, nay. Sue?
Aye.
Celeste?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, folks.
And you'll get, I will offer up if you just, because of the work on the other IGA, like, I'm happy to
Yeah.
help draft anything.
Thank you.
Like,
Maybe I will share a current draft if you all want to look at that. Sorry.
It's been nice.
Or pass it to
Mr. Porter, it's spelled your name correct.
It's very simple. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that one does, but I appreciate that, Mike. Okay.
Well, that's one of my questions coming up.
The next item was a discussion about the relocation of the community garden. So just a brief timeline. for everybody. This has been something that has been on the radar of the district for probably about a year and a half now. We knew that with the softball field project coming on, that we would lose the Sunny Hunt Community Garden, and so I've been working closely with the school district since then. They have only shown the best of intentions to relocate that garden space. We missed the last growing season just because of the delay in the project, but one of the conditions of their conditional use permit for relocating the softball field was to relocate the community gardens. And so they went through a process to identify some sites. They worked closely with I always forget. David Kozlowski started a nonprofit, the food. Do you remember the name? Mike? Food Forest.
I don't know, I've never had any correspondence with
I think it's called the Food Forest.
anybody about it.
They had what seemed like an agreeable site at the American Legion, and that did not end up working out. And they pivoted to several other sites around the community, including at considered the North 40. They considered a different site at Broadway Park. They considered the overflow lot at the Bob Chisholm, and kind of just through process of elimination for one reason or another, those sites were all ruled out. The two sites that were left remaining were a site that a parcel of land that the city owns behind Ruby's, directly east of Ruby's, in between Ruby's and like the Mill Ponds area, and then an expansion or a revitalization of the Railroad Garden site. So with that information in mind, the school district and SEPRD worked together to create a community survey, and we surveyed previous and current garden renters, and we also held a listening session at the SRC on, let's say it was Wednesday the 7th. February the 7th, yeah, Wednesday, February 7th. And Mike was there.
I couldn't get in.
You texted me, but I think Mike was there, and I don't think Kyle was, but anyways, I was there, Levi was there, and we had a good discussion and met with some of the gardeners and heard feedback from them. Based on that feedback and just in alignment with kind of our preferences, SEPRD's preferences, and what we felt like was best, we proposed that the best plan forward would be to revitalize the railroad gardens and use the existing space that the garden sits on, but maybe enhance the garden and remodel the garden a little bit, make some other changes, and attract hopefully a new crop of gardeners or fill those garden beds. And if demand was such that the garden beds were not adequate, the amount of beds there were not adequate, then expand the gardens to the north, either 1 or 2 blocks in time, not for this growing season.
Was there parking over there?
There is street parking by one of our board members' homes. It does get full in the summer and it's not always available, so that's one of the considerations. I think
Parking is a problem.
if we do expand the garden, parking would be essential.
That street has been made narrower, it's unfinished, the city, as I commented in the meeting,
Yeah.
the street has been unfinished since the gardens were built. And it was made narrower even by the work that the ODOT did.
Yeah.
If you make a right turn off of Avenue, and you can readily see
Yeah.
how difficult it is if there's someone at the intersection, you can't make a right turn really. So, but parking on both sides of the streets, I think, might be good, but we need to provide ADA parking
Yes.
in some kind of coordinated way. There's more room for parking, it seems like, down on the other end of the street. Of course, you've got a commercial break there.
There's like, if I'm remembering, pulling the image from my mind, there's like 3 grass sections with like roads in between, and ours is in the
Yeah,
middle.
so my recollection is there's 3 grass sections north, and there's roads in between at least 2 of them,
Yeah.
and then Taco Bell,
Yeah.
and then there's a plot. There's the rail, the caboose, or whatever that's called, the railroad car. And then there's a plot of beds, about 18, 19 beds, and then there's a street, and then on the other side of the street, there's another 18, 19, 20 beds. Does that sound right, Mike?
Well, there's basically about 18 beds
on each.
on each one,
Yeah.
there's 36 beds, generally, it may have been modified a little bit when that one ADA plot was
Yeah,
put in.
there's one
You may have,
Could any of those grassy areas, like, okay, so potentially one is gonna be a future expansion if all goes well,
Mhm.
but could one of them be kind of turned into parking?
Yeah, that's something that we've talked about, I think that's a great idea.
So-
Yeah, building, some pull-in spots that are
Yeah.
not on the street. Even if it's only 2 or 3, I think that would be adequate for most of the
There's
time.
not probably a ton of people at one time.
Right, yeah. Sorry, if I can, jump back in, so this all, proceeded kind of on this timeline, but since then, the superintendent and city manager and myself have kind of gotten together and, another interesting, layer of the interwoven government agencies here. The school district was given this, condition basically to provide a garden space, but they're kind of on hold, and, what we didn't want to do is have the school district or any government body invest a lot of money into a new garden space if we didn't necessarily need it, because the last few years, the demand has not been there for the railroad garden. Sunny Hunt Garden has been very popular, but the railroad garden has not sold out. It's been around 60 to 70% full. And so what we decided would be best was for the school district to provide an amount of funds to either the city or to SEPRD, and then they would be kind of, I'll use the term, released from their responsibility of contributing to this project, and then the project would move forward with the city of Seaside and SEPRD working together to revitalize the garden space, like I said, and then if demand is there, then to expand the garden space. So I have a draft of an MOU, a different one, that would basically outline how this would work, and this plan was presented to City Council last night in a work session, and they approved it moving forward. I know that the school board has already approved it, and so now it lies with SEPRD to approve or discuss it. So I'm actually going to pass out a copy for everybody.
SEPRD is basically the default manager of the railroad gardens.
Yeah.
So there needs to be, in my mind, some kind of really clear mechanism on who's going to maintain and do what for the long term.
Yeah.
Because the city has, basically on the long term, the city has not performed very well.
Yeah, I think there's some improvement for that. This MOU will at least outline how the funding mechanism will work and what will happen initially. We've already had some really good discussions with the city on how we can utilize a portion of this funding and update the garden space for this year moving forward. And then we'll still have some of those funds, a good portion of those funds available after this year for expansion, maybe next year or 2 years from now.
How did we arrive at this somewhat
Great question.
funky number?
Yeah, so that is the amount, when the school district was considering building the garden on the American Legion lot, they costed out or priced out all of the work that it would take. And so that's the total of what they thought it would take at the Legion.
It's not much money. But, I've been trying to avoid a conflict of interest on this because of the gardens and being on the board. So I tried not to get too involved.
One thing that should be stated is that the city has, I think, pretty committed to using some of their resources and their person power and tools and heavy equipment in public works to help kind of do some of this work that would have probably cost more. So you could say that maybe there's the city.
It's got to include finishing the street and draining the water off the street. You notice how much water is standing in that road. Didn't do that before.
What I'm a little concerned with is, I'm not a community gardener, so I don't know much on this topic, but from what I've heard, that was not a popular location before. And are we trying to force square peg into a round hole by putting all of our eggs in that basket, rather than considering, and I know there's been some thought about other locations, but I'm just wondering if the city has offered up any alternative locations that might be available on city-owned property, for instance, given this agreement, if the city is interested.
I think they have, and they would be interested. I think that's what, so the plan to move forward as I presented, kind of, it, lets the railroad garden have kind of a fresh start, like gives the garden like a makeover, if you will, and hopefully generates a little positive momentum for renters, but not investing all of, or even, you know, a significant portion of these funds will increase like our marketing efforts and outreach to try to find gardeners. But I think we're all under the understanding, I guess, that if it doesn't work, then we would need to find a different location.
Yeah.
I think the other location that is in, or was in serious contention was the site at Ruby's, and it had a significant amount of concerns with transient population in that area, as well as its proximity or lack of proximity to SEPRD,
Yeah.
and with our staff being the ones that maintain the garden spaces, and that site is really inaccessible by foot and by bike, and that's how a lot of our gardeners get to, or at least got to the Sunny Garden.
I guess part of what I'm wondering is whether or not, like, you can actually fix what is wrong with the railroad gardens. I can't, if I were growing food for my family to eat, I would not want to grow it alongside the highway. That is not, nor would I want to go spend an afternoon there, gardening. So that doesn't sound fantastic. So I don't know if you can fix that, right,
Yeah.
with some of the things that we're talking about. And I do wonder, whether or not the Legion, I don't know why the Legion backed out, but whether or not a discussion with them would be worthwhile, or we had some discussion today about the Girl Scout property, and whether or not, like, have we approached all the other potential community partner locations? Or, I know that there's a lot that was for sale on the corner of Broadway and Mahana that seems like it would be a good location. It's not on the market currently, but maybe could be.
The Legion is back down on a number of things over the past.
From what I understand, the Legion is not going to be available for this garden expansion at any point.
Even to sell off a portion of their property?
Yeah, they actually don't
I found
own
the
the
railroad
property,
garden
the
just,
county owns property, but,
They would.
yeah.
I found the railroad gardens, personally to be pretty good. It gets pretty windswept. You get some weather there. The split rail fence, has rotted away and was put in rather quickly with low-cost cedar components. I think a better fence needs to be put in there. But to food, I've gone, and then we've had master gardeners and people in the garden clubs here who just grow flowers there. And it's wonderful just to have flowers take over some of the beds, that's fine, There's one of them that's a yellow flag iris, which is an invasive, and we're trying to kill it.
But you don't feel like that's a detriment, the
Being next to
location?
the road, no, it's actually, it's entertaining at times. I have a little extra bench I put out there, and there are plots, and we sit there. But on a summer day, you get a little noise, but with my hearing, it doesn't matter too much. It's very entertaining to watch all the people who do fireworks wait in line to get out of town, and say, hey, I'm here. And I can see it's a great place to watch the fireworks, I'm telling you.
So, at the meeting, how many gardeners showed up?
There's probably about 12 or 13 total people at the meeting. There's
And how
some
many
city
filled
staff.
out the survey?
I think they had around 20 responses or 15.
There were only
And what
3
is
gardens.
the survey and those folks, is this what they said, that they are willing to move to the railroad?
So there was a couple of the gardeners really preferred the Ruby's garden location, but most actually preferred the railroad garden. Yeah.
Okay.
But those were the 2 options that they were provided, though. And
Right.
to Celeste's point, yeah, maybe there's. I mean, I actually have been invested a lot of my time in. Hey, what about this location? What about the North 40? What about Cartwright Park? What about the Bob Chisholm overflow lot? And all of them seem to, they don't work out for one reason or another. And it's not that this is the only location left in the whole county. It's just, it's kind of like, hey, this is sort of you know, it's already there. Let's do what we can. And to your point, Celeste, I think, one of the things that we've talked about is, well, what, natural landscape changes can be made to, minimize the litter and, the noise from the road, to make it a more inviting space. And I think there's some things that can be done using, like, building up the we'll call it like a dune, but like the little hillside there, or using a natural hedge, and also improving the fence.
Well, when that highway work was being done, ODOT sent us all letters. They know we're gonna do this highway improvement, blah, blah, blah. Of course, they were gonna do it like, how many years ago?
Yeah.
And so we stopped getting information from ODOT, but I brought up the sound issue with them and, you know, suggested they do a riprap or some kind of retaining wall, a low wall that didn't block the view or anything and would deflect the sound. But it all fell through the cracks, just like the storm sewer and the curb and all this unfinished stuff. And hopefully we can get rid of some of the cherry trees. One of the reasons that the gardens were not popular was not necessarily the highway. It was the cherry trees that the city planted, because those were invasive and they rooted underground and came up, you know, all of our flower beds and garden beds have these cherry trees that we cannot kill because we've tried to be organic gardeners. And the city was on notice when those trees were going in. They gave carte blanche to the landscaper to put in whatever she wanted. And that's what Neil Wallace said, you know, you want to go talk to her, you know. And the city just walked away from it. We have way too much landscaping.
Well, one of my concerns is that this identifies that they'll pay this $75,000 plus, and then they're done, and this is not signed, there's no recourse.
The fencing will cost that.
Like, $75,000 for fencing?
Have you costed some of this cyclone fencing like we have around Broadway Field? What's going for it to get that installed?
I don't know if we can.
I'm, you know.
I mean, to be fair, I think the school district, like, this is a part of their, but, like, do we or does the city expect them to do the construction on the field? I don't know, like, I guess I kind of feel like this is a good deal.
I don't know.
For us, because we've never had a dime of funding from an external partner, and now we have some, and we can update the garden potentially and make it a better space, and still have resources available potentially down the road for expansion. Like, our job, I feel like, is to provide recreation services, and we have this service, but it's not funded. And now we have a funding stream, at least for a little while, maybe for a long while, and we can provide a better space for this program and service to continue. And we have a greater level of partnership than we've ever had from the city. Like, the city is at least talking to us about gardens, whereas before, they were like, those spaces don't even exist. SEPRD, you guys are on your own managing those spaces.
Well, and one comment, I mean, you talked about updating the road. The school district's not gonna do that.
No,
And we wouldn't ask them.
that's been on the city for years and years. They've been kicking the can down the road, and now we've got a whole new hierarchy, a new regime in all citywide with building and planning, community development, and public works. And what I was told they were going to do, they didn't do it, and then those people have retired. I want to be careful not to have a conflict, because I am a gardener. I'm interested in the garden, but I'm also the board of directors for the year. So, but I don't think $75,000 a one-time fee is going to provide much continuity for development. Personally,
I'm feeling very conflicted. I'm trying to identify why. The school district is redoing our field, and as part of that, they have to relocate the garden. So they're on the hook for relocating the gardens. The city and the school district feel that this is a fair amount to relocate the garden. Historically, our role in the gardens has been to maintain and schedule. It's not necessarily like, they're not our gardens, even though they are. So I guess I'm feeling torn because I feel like technically they're the city's gardens, right? Like it's on city property, it's the city's.
Well,
And so if the city feels like this is okay, I mean, I don't. I feel like, I kind of agree with Mike, like doing any kind of fencing. I mean, just putting a fence around my house was like $10,000 almost.
But it's not requiring the amount that we spend on fencing, right? It's not, there's nothing dictated, I mean, we could
But
throw
I
down
mean-
some bark dust and call it
They're
good, right?
only-
But this is supposedly to replace those gardens, like, no matter where it ends up, in
That garden
theory.
didn't have a fence.
No, I know,
That's
but I
all
mean,
right,
I'm
yeah.
just saying, like, the cost of things, I think, is more than we think, right? Like, just wood in general is very expensive, so like, to replace garden beds, I'm just talking this
we
through.
can understand
And
your conflict.
I think your point though is right, in that it is kind of, it's kind of
silly.
more an agreement between the city and the school district. However, I think both of those parties, especially the city, recognize that we're the manager of this program.
We have an MOU.
Well, it's never been found, like, I know you say that, but
I
neither,
signed it.
neither
I saw
party
it.
has
I saw
it.
the document.
But either way, the city has no desire to manage the program moving forward. And also, it's at least been suggested that the funds will be best delivered to our foundation. So that's another reason why it's really crucial that we're all three parties kind of agree on this. And even though it has its, concerns or drawbacks, I think that's important.
Well,
I mean, this thing is supposed to go into effect,
we
what,
never
tomorrow?
had, we wouldn't have had the right to name that the Sunny Hunt Gardens unless we technically owned it. We owned it, quote unquote, even though it wasn't partitioned, because it was given to us, the city, when we sold them the Able House so that they could build a new library. And that was part of the deal.
I have no doubt that happened, but there's no actual record of
The city should be
those
involved.
things. So
I
in
think
regards to the date, I think the date can change, so if the board,
So the risk, I would say, but I think, I'm hearing that you feel like this is the thing we should go forward on. I think the risk that I would bring up, what I'm a little bit nervous about, and again, I'm not part of the garden community, so I don't know, is that the garden community comes back and is unhappy with the railroad placement as an option, and that they've lost their other gardens, and now we have a segment of the community that is unhappy, and it falls on us because we bought it. We now own the problem, not the school district. So that's the part I'm worried about, is that we end up.
that's fair. Counselor Pazalski has a lot of interactions with the gardeners, and in the work session yesterday, he attested that they were in support of this plan, and that there was a lot of positive momentum from the master gardeners to assist with this effort, volunteer to help with the work that is needed, and also fill remaining garden beds. And that was positive. Now, I haven't, that's through him, but I have no doubt, or I have no reason to doubt his.
It's good news.
Yeah.
I mean, I think to me, that would be the test that I'd want to make sure. And if it, maybe it's not a perfect solution, and we can keep looking at other options for expanded space, but.
So if we don't sign this, then what?
Well, I think, are you saying, if you don't sign it, are you not signing it forever, or are you saying you want to think on it? If
No,
you're
I'm-
not signing it forever, then I think the school district and the city would probably create a different agreement. And I don't know what our role in managing the garden, like I said, I don't think the city has any desire to manage a community garden program.
I mean, I think it runs the risk that we don't offer that service to the community, or at least not as well, right? Like that.
And certainly the funding would probably just, it would go through the city, and then when, let's say we did have a community garden program and we needed funds to
The city
improve,
doesn't even have a parks department.
if we needed funds to improve a garden bed, then we would be dipping into the general fund of the district for that. Because the rental fee does not cover site improvements, infrastructure improvements. That's been a fundraised effort in the past.
So can we bill some of our staff time to the 75 too? I mean, it doesn't say what it is, right?
That's the intention,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a little interesting, because this doesn't actually, it leaves a little bit gray area, like who gets the $75,000, the city or Park and Rec?
Yeah, we just
What does it do?
we hadn't determined that
Well, it does
necessarily
say
at
it
this
goes
point.
specifically to,
To build planters? Does it build fences? Does it ensure water supply? Does
I
it
mean,
ensure
it says it goes to the foundation account.
parking?
so I think, so I would like it to be a little bit more specific about who's going to be the lead in administering a plan. Does it take dual agreement to whatever the plan is, like Mike's talking about, like whatever where stuff gets spent? Does the city, do both parties agree to that plan? So I'd like to know who the designated lead is.
That's fair.
And frankly, just again, I think it would be good based on our other IGA experience that we're specific, that it can go towards materials, supplies, and labor.
It's gonna have legal review before we sign it?
We can, yeah, I mean, we can get it. All three of us have attorneys. We're the one that pays for ours out of pocket.
So,
And what I'm concerned about, I think the gardening is recreational.
I agree, and I think it provides a lot of, benefit to our community in many ways. You know, I think maybe having something at farmer's market advertising that there's spots available would be great. So kind of circling back to something that you said to Mike, do we not have an agreement with the city on operating?
So I know that we had one, because
Okay.
I've heard Mike talk about it, and I believe him. I just have never been able to find it in the records of the district.
So I feel like maybe that's something that we,
Certainly is. And I
Could
think-
work on.
I think it will be something that we work on, yeah.
because, yeah.
To be honest, like, all of the community garden stuff for the last 2 years has kind of been in a weird space of knowing if this is changing, what are we investing in this, is, you know, the site is no longer whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that, with some of the, adding some more specifics to this MOU between the city of Seaside and with the Seaside School District, make a motion that we give Skylar authority to sign.
Well, don't we have to include the city instead of the third? They're all-
Yeah, the city of Seaside and the Seaside School District.
I really trust your opinion, since I'm not a gardener, and so I think, I know this has been discussed for quite a while, and there's been attempts to, you know, talk about this location and that location and that location, and,
I think it's a good location.
I mean, I defer, since I have no thumbs for gardening.
Mike, do you want a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor signify aye, opposed nay. Sue? Celeste?
Aye.
Mike?
All right. We'll see how far it goes.
Aye.
Thanks, folks.
Do you need these back, I presume?
You can keep them, but they're part of the, everything that you keep is part of the public record, so. Or you can give it to me and it will be preserved.
Forever.
Forever and ever. Okay, item C, this will be a short update, since we think, we had a bulk of our day, in regards to the strategic plan. We had our charrettes today, and appreciate Kyle and Celeste for being there. We had, I think, about 9 people participated, and we had a combination of district staff and our stakeholders. We have 3 great stakeholders, 2 folks from our owners rep group, and 2 folks from SEA, and we had Susie from sports facilities all the way from Florida here. today, and we had 2 great hour-and-a-half-ish or longer sessions. For the charrettes, we reviewed the survey results during the morning session, and there was a lot of really interesting data points. And then in the afternoon, kind of introduced 4 big sort of items that will be addressed in the strategic plan, and got a sense, I think, for how the strategic plan will be laid out and the timing for it. And just had a really great discussion. We're able to offer some goals and insights, and I think everybody participated. I think it was a really positive experience, and time well spent. So I don't know if Celeste wants to add anything, but the folks that we've contracted with, they're hoping to have a draft to us by the end of March. So it does seem like we've been engaged in this process for a while, but I think it's coming. There'll probably be at least 2 or 3 iterations of drafts, and then we'll have a more final copy, but more to come on this.
Yeah, and I think it was great. I thought it was maybe a little more than the 9 people, also if you include us.
Yeah.
Seems like it was more like 12 or 15 to me, maybe. But,
I'm happy to be Aaron under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was.
3, 4, 5. I think there was like 11 or 12.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good, and I think I'm really excited to bring some of the ideas to the rest of the board in thinking about. But I think along the community survey combined with input from sports facilities and SEA, Scott Edwards, combined with, they also took into consideration, which I was really pleased to see, the highest and best use reports that we did previously. They gave us a lot of good information. All of that stuff, I think, is going to, I'm really hopeful it's going to end up in a nice list that helps us prioritize the steps to get us to a plan or a vision for 10 years from now, for instance, or 10 years and beyond from now. And I think that was part of the reason we thought it was so important for Kyle to be able to step out and listen to the city's plan, their 2050 plan, because as we were talking about this sort of campus proposal, how important that is to the whole city and how it should be part of the consideration for the city vision. So that was why it was important for him to be able to step out. But I'm excited about where we're moving to.
Great.
Okay. If there's no other questions on that, we'll move on to item D. So the board asked me to keep this on, sort of on, I wouldn't say on the warmer, but keep this a focus moving forward. So the sense I got from our discussion about district boundaries was that the previous work that we had done was maybe an okay start, but there was more work to do. So I have reached out to about 5 different contacts or firms that I have in the industry, including the one that did the preliminary work for us. And we have actually had follow-up meetings with all 5 of them over the next week or so. I think my intention is to kind of share the position that we're in, share where we're at as a group, and then kind of get some feedback from them about possible paths forward and timing. It does kind of seem like expediting a process is probably not in our best interest for November, but I do think engaging a firm and kind of laying out an appropriate timeline and kind of getting a sense of who might be the best resource for us to work with and partner with on this type of thing. I'm going to share some data that Isaiah actually helped us find in the out-of-district rates that might help inform our position a little bit, but I think this is still a topic that's really important for us to kind of keep considering and figuring out the best path forward, or what the path might look like for us.
I feel like having a strategic plan in place that shows what is going to be available in districts and getting our rate structure right so that there is incentivization to be part of the district are going to be really key before we go out to talk.
Yeah.
And I also think we need to be aware that in Earhart there are hot conversations right now going on about the fire station and
Sure.
the heavy burden that's going to be on taxpayers, and we just have to be cognizant of the timing. I wouldn't want us to be on the same ballot as theirs. So
appreciate that you're keeping this on here and that you're being proactive, I guess, in kind of finding those partners that might be the ones to have those conversations with, not necessarily, I mean, maybe it is starting now, but, yeah, I think that's,
The way I'm envisioning it, I think that we would probably have to go out for an RFP, but these are the folks that we would probably want to potentially bid on that RFP, so I'm kind of trying to sort of lay the groundwork for a successful process with that, realizing like, even best case scenario, we're behind the timeline for November, so it's okay to be really methodical and kind of lay this out strategically in the right way and find that best partner. Celeste, to your point, I think it's really good. There's also, you know, some political, I don't know, not upheaval, but just consternation, I guess, in Cannon Beach about their efforts to, revitalize the elementary school site into a community center. And I think there's maybe some potential for SEPRD to be a resource to them in that effort because we do some of that work. But more to come on that.
Yeah.
In regards to SDCs, also had a really good meeting with Doug, who presented to the board, I think, in November from FCS Group, and sort of shared our intentions and our hopes. So Doug, the way that it works is he sends a draft of a contract to us, and he's going to work on that over the next few weeks, and then obviously that will come back to the board for review. He shared how the process typically rolls forward and the timeline that it would roll forward if the board wanted to pursue it. I didn't commit us to moving it forward, but I think at a minimum, understanding what are the next steps for us. One thing that I think it may put your minds at ease. It might make you think, well, what are we doing this for? Is we got data today from the survey results that the population growth in our service area or in our district boundaries is really small, like 1% over the next, I think, 8 or 10 years. And so that's not all new construction. Maybe there's more new construction, and maybe there's versions of this, but I think that's an important consideration that we're really, this isn't probably going to move the needle a significant amount for SEPRD, just based on what I know about SDCs and how they function and expansion of services and things like that. But I think it could be something that really helps us. And if we do it the right way, I think it is the way that the state has basically said, if you want to expand more services, you can't increase your tax base, so you can either a bond, a levy, or SDCs. Those are the ways that the state has said that's what you would want to do. So we're kind of just, I think, following instructions or following the protocol of what is available to us with the ORS.
I can't remember him talking about whether or not I assume SDCs apply to commercial property also, right? I mean, because while our population, part of the reason our population isn't expanding is because there's no more houses for people to live in locally, and there's not places. Although I'm not sure about, there's some new construction of Warrenton. I'd have to look at our district boundaries to see where that's happening within. So I think there is building that's going to go on out there. Yeah. But I certainly think there's commercial property being built and.
So that would be a determination for the board to make, is if they want the SDC to apply to commercial property. And I had a good conversation with Doug about, hey, could it apply to hotel property?
Right.
And he said yes, that there is another special district, and they have their ordinance laid out in a way that hotel development faces a substantial SDC because they made the case and justified it that visitors impacted the service area.
Well, particularly considering like the events that we do, right? And that what our visitors get out of that.
So I think there's and you can play, I think, with the SDC formula where I'm really mindful of the Zoom because
I keep checking to make sure it's like moving every now and then.
Yeah, there's been some Zoom hackers or some public meetings interruptions in other local governments.
That would never happen with Isaiah on the watch.
Well, usually they're during public comment, so, anyways, but yeah, you can kind of toy with the SDC formula where it impacts, potentially commercial growth in a way that it doesn't necessarily impact, residential growth of homes of a certain size, you know. That's one thing that SEPRD has done really well, is they have, adjusted their SDCs so that it doesn't impact affordable housing as much as it might impact higher end housing. And I think there's a lot of flexibility that the board would have down the road to potentially do that. So that process, assuming that we move forward, will take 6, 7, 8 months. So right now, the first step is for FCS Group to send us a potential contract and for staff and them to kind of work out some of the details and then bring that contract back to the board at some point for review and hopefully approval. Okay.
Could I comment just briefly? The assistant development charges, I spoke with a good friend who has mentored me on this subject and kind of how it got here, I guess, with Don Clements, who's the executive director of Chehalis Park and Recreation District. And we were talking about, the SDCs and our discussion and, about people worrying about affordable housing. And he said the answer to that is simple. You just exempt affordable housing.
Right. Yeah.
And, but the whole thing would only require a vote of our board. We don't have to put it to the public. Simply a vote of the district board can make this happen. So that's all I need to say.
It's so interesting when it's simple.
Yeah.
Well, it's simple, but I think anything we can do will be a big help. We're probably one of the few park districts or special districts anywhere in the state that are not benefiting from SDC. But we better get smart.
Well, this seems like, as opposed to sort of the wait and build for the district boundary thing, it does seem like something like why wait.
Well, there's stuff going on before legislatively about a one-time expansion of urban growth boundaries, and this is mainly aimed at creating space for affordable housing and expansion. And but it's kind of one thing. One of the things I picked up at SDAO at the legislative session. I haven't got a lot of detail on that, but were you there at that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
That's good. Okay, then item E, last item under old business, is just update on the budget committee. Budget committee applications are still open until Friday at 5 p.m. We have received 2 applicants.
We have 2 openings.
We have 2 openings. So one of the applicants is Tracy McDonald. He's served on the budget committee before. And the other applicant is Paul McCarthy, not McCartney, that would be funny. But Sue actually, I think, introduced him to the opportunity, so thank you, Sue. And I had a chat with Paul, and we exchanged a couple of emails. He seems like a really great fella, and has some budget experience that he alluded to in his email. Seems like he would be a great addition to me from right now.
He has asked, he talked to me this morning, and he would like, how you gave me a tour of who owns what, and that he has lots of questions.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that he should just connect with you or, someone that you would designate, because he'd like to just get some general information.
Yeah. If you see him again, do you want to have him reach out to me and we'll set up a time, or have him come back to the office with you and you can...
Okay, well, the next time I hope to see him is Thursday.
Okay.
So I'll tell him we can just go back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or shoot me a text or give me a call, make sure I'm around. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not always as available as I wish I was sometimes. But. In terms of that, though, I just wanted to check with the board and see if they wanted to plan on doing budget committee interviews with these 2 folks. I'm assuming we don't get a third. If we do, then maybe the process changes, maybe it doesn't. The next board meeting or on a different date. Our next board meeting is not on the 4th Tuesday. If you remember, it's on Thursday, March 21st, because of spring break. So
I tend to think that as somebody who went through the budget interview process, I appreciated, I know Tracy knows this, but the other person would be new. I think I I like keeping the consistency of having that be part of our process. It's not a heavy lift if it's only 2 people. It's sort of just a
I think it's
confirmation.
also transparent.
It's transparent and it allows them to ask us questions, so I would agree in favor.
I think, you know, allotting some time before a meeting is perfectly fine.
Like at 4:30 or something, or do you wanna just do it at the start of the
I mean, if
top
it's
15?
2 people,
Yeah.
you know, we knock them out in 10 minutes, that's 20 minutes.
4:45, yeah.
Okay, so that's what
So I want to clarify, we're not meeting the 26th because of spring break?
Yeah, we
Correct.
moved it.
Right, we're meeting the 21st. I just have both on the calendar.
we're not meeting, yeah.
We moved our March meeting.
Yeah, so March, 21st.
At the same
Same
time.
time.
Well, we moved to the 21st.
Can
Right.
I just say,
Yeah, I've got
things
that
are
already.
kind of, up the air with my sister, so I'm not quite sure what that means for my availability, but I'll let you know.
Okay,
I'm worried.
I appreciate you sharing that. We'll be hoping for the best for her. It's been a lot of time invested by you, so.
Well, as, you know, I'm still saying prayers, you know, of course. So the 29th is her next MRI, which is Thursday. And we'll see.
Best of luck.
You okay?
Thank you.
Need a break?
I'm getting a mess in my brain.
Sorry.
Goals for 2024.
Okay, so, just included, I guess I was under the, hopeful assumption that maybe we would discuss this tonight. It does feel like our meeting is, has been quite long, and I don't know what the board brought goals, but I don't feel like it's my place to tell you how to do this part of the meeting, so I'm just going to be quiet and listen, and I'll take notes. And if you'd like to delay this to another meeting, or do this some other way, I'm happy to hear that.
So I can offer up that Kyle and I had a discussion about this,
Great.
and talked about some of this, and, I think we had thought that maybe somewhere it had been discussed that we were supposed to meet and help with some of these things. I appreciate what you came up with, but I would like to kick the can down the road and let Kyle and I pick back up on the conversation now with visibility with it, because when we talked, that we hadn't made this yet,
Okay.
so if that works. And then Kyle and I could take that on and come to finalize something with a proposal to finalize at the next board meeting.
That's fine to
Okay,
me.
so-
Yeah.
You know, I have, so when are we, so next month we'll confer and come up with the goals? Is that what it is?
So, yeah, so Skylar has already provided a list of some goals that he had, some of which are, I think, are continuations
Right.
from last year, but some new. I know that, Kyle actually has me doing some reading assignments, some that are, on, some pieces that I think are gonna be helpful, that take a more holistic picture at the district and set leadership goals that are less task-oriented and more leadership-oriented. So I'm interested, I don't quite know what that means, but I'd be happy to have interim communication, with everyone. But I think we're trying to move away from tasks
Well, and
and more to, but we could certainly take input if you wanted to email us in too.
well, I've got a couple ideas, so I just, didn't know where to put those.
I think what Celeste is saying is maybe outside of the board, communicate with her, and she's gonna bring it, they're gonna bring a draft, which it is. I think that's great, because that's definitely your area of expertise.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, so I'll reach out.
Mike, does that work?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say for any board members, but I think it's easier for us to have, than putting just a big list together. I think it's easier for us to have some time to put a thoughtful thing together, yep. Okay.
All right. You okay to move on? Okay, the first item under new business is a,
There wasn't
opportunity.
something in the packet on the.
There was not, and I apologize for that. I've been yeah, working on this, but, was able to put something together over the last, this is for me.
Catherine, does Catherine help your library?
I have had a lot of it today. No, it's, honestly, it's being under the light.
Yeah.
I have, lenses in my eyes that have rings, and it's not great. I don't have lights on in my office.
Wait, no, my
And,
Well, do we need all these lights on?
you can't turn them off.
You can turn this half off, but I think the camera,
Yeah, we just.
What's the power through?
Yep, that's what I'm doing. We're good.
appreciate that, sorry. So yeah, put together this memo to help kind of inform our discussion. I am not anticipating that we come out of, this discussion with a motion to move forward any specifically, but I just wanted to make sure we're all kind of speaking the same language and, coming from a position of information to the board so that they can have that to help make their decision. So just put together this memo, just go through it briefly but not read it. Last fee increase was adopted about a year and a half ago, July 2022. As was shared today, I was happy to hear this, Celeste, and you probably remember too that best practices for agencies say that you should really do increases every 1 to 2 years, because then you can do modest increases and you don't kind of get so far behind the budget cycle that you have to do a large increase. Currently, the out-of-district rate for general admission programs, that's like Open Swim and our memberships, is around 75%. So I'd say it's pretty substantial, but for a lot of the programs in the district, the rate is usually about 33%, somewhere around there. The percentage isn't always perfectly 33% or 75%, but it's right in that kind of ballpark. There's 3 other special districts. There's others that we could compare to. I did a little comparison, and I just want to be really honest and say that our district is really unique because we have these 2 pockets of users that aren't district residents, but we know use our facilities because there isn't a pool in Cannon Beach or Deer Heart. And we also have a lot of visitors, where Hood River probably does as well, but a place like St. Helens doesn't probably have as much out-of-town users, right? And it's more of their community that's just using their aquatic district facilities. So there's not really an apples-to-apples comparison anywhere in the state with a Park and Rec district, as far as I can tell.
Sorry. Astoria over Cannon Beach.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead. I know.
I'm a fast trader, even when my head hurts.
Isaiah has put together some really nice data from our point of sale software, so thank you, Isaiah, for doing that. And it's on these nice graphics, but kind of try to catch a little bit of the highlights. So about 77% of our past sales are from district residents currently. Out-of-district swim lessons and private lessons account for about $40,000, whereas in-district, same programs account for just a little bit more, $45,000. Special event revenue for non-residents is higher than residents. That could be for a lot of reasons, but we don't charge a higher fee for out-of-district special event participation. That's something maybe we would consider as a part of this action. That's something we've kind of held back from because we really want those high participation numbers in special events, hoping that if somebody comes to farmers market or egg hunt or turkey trot, then they'll say, wow, SEPRD is awesome. I'm going to put my kid in swim lessons or preschool or something like that. Sports, fitness, and outdoor programs are also more heavily utilized by our out-of-district patrons. And this one surprised me. You'll see in the data, youth programs are much more heavily utilized by district residents. However, it should be noted that that could be because a lot of those youth program families buy into the district. Yeah.
Is there any way to see that number?
There probably is. Yeah, I didn't ask Isaiah to pull that, so I didn't feel comfortable about asking him late in the game. But yeah, I think there is probably.
I think that would be an interesting.
How many families are buying in?
Yeah.
So, what's the total? What is their total dollar amount? How many people are buying in?
Buying into the district or buying a pass?
Oh.
Sorry.
2 different things. Okay,
yeah.
so those are
so you
different
can
things.
buy into the district if you're an out-of-district resident.
Right.
bring your property tax statement in, and you would pay SEPRD what you would have paid us if you were in the district, and then you're in the district for that year. But pass sales are in the green, so if you combine the passes non-resident with passes resident, so probably about, right around $89,000, just tough math.
I mean, I'm a little shocked that our out-of-district swim lessons account for almost half of our revenue of swim lessons, right? But I don't think we charge differently for swim lessons.
We do. Out-of-district swim lessons are about 33% higher, but not 75%. They're not substantially higher, but they are higher. The only thing, that doesn't have an out-of-district rate is special events. Everything else has 2 rates.
So if we charge $30 to an in-district person, we're charging $40 to an out-of-district person, something like that.
Yeah. And for pass sales, it's much higher. It's 75% higher.
For the swim lessons, which are a hot commodity, because
Yeah, I know.
people wait in line basically to sign up. Do we open those early for in-district, or is it come one, all for one?
It's come one, come all. Right now. Doesn't mean that's something that couldn't be changed.
I would, if we maybe don't, because swim lessons is a hard one because, at least for me, because that's a
We want
life.
the kids to learn to
Yes,
swim.
we want the kids to learn to swim. That's a life skill that saves lives. We live in a place with water everywhere. However, I think there should be a benefit to people in our district. Maybe it's not necessarily monetary, but they are a hot commodity.
Yeah.
Like, I think we should be serving our community in some way. Anyway, but.
Yeah. Are we doing also, is childcare also differentiated for in-district and out-of-district currently?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah. And that one, there is a registration. The way that we've done it is previous program participants get first access, and that's usually for like 3 to 5 days, I think, and then after that,
It's
then
a little longer than that.
yeah,
I feel
then
like
it
it's
gets
2
opened up.
weeks.
Yeah.
But I still feel like again, in-district, if we were a membership club, like this fitness, 24-hour fitness, and people had purchased membership into this club, they would get first dibs on stuff. They should get first dibs on stuff, right? And
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think the thought of having the continuity is really beneficial to the child. Like, there's
Yeah,
children
so I think
benefit
you
from that stability and not having to
so maybe you have to do
go to
3 ways,
preschool at a
right?
different site every other, or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be, but yeah.
So maybe you do 3 ways: continuation, then open
In district.
in district, and not free for a long.
That's a good idea.
I think, Kyle, also, we talked a little bit about this, and we talked about really doing a deep dive and to figure out okay, what our district fees are paying for the facilities to be available within the community. And that's if you had to portion, I don't think we've done this yet, but maybe I'm wrong, is that if we said, okay, a swim lesson is $30, and of that, if you divided up how much that $30 is of facility time, do you feel like we've done this?
Well,
This is part of the cost
for
recovery. Yeah.
That maybe we could do that, but his idea was, basically, is that we were looking at it, that taxes would be paying to have the facilities available, and that patrons would pay anything over and above for that program to exist. But out-of-district people would have to pay both. They pay both the facilities charge and the program charge. And I thought that seemed like a good, logical explanation and a formula that we could sort of go by instead of sort of willy-nilly, we think it's worth this much, right? It seems like it would be a little, and maybe we make conscious decisions to supplement something more than that, particularly like the swimming, because I agree that's a big part of our what for, but,
I need a clarification on this graph. You said that special events, we don't.
Yeah, I know there's one listed there, and I'm not sure what that one is. I'm not sure what special event we have, a non-resident. Because, I was pretty certain So that could be a clerical thing, but we need to look at that.
Okay. And what's
That
what's
maybe
CNS?
like farmer's market,
You
the
mean
non-resident.
for the vendors? I mean, most of the vendors aren't in the district. I don't know, yeah, I couldn't think, I thought maybe chalk art, but I couldn't remember if you did it's pretty much almost everything we're trying, could be family dance, but I think everything we're really trying to get out of district because we know we'll get bigger participation and that's more bang for, our buck, more bang for the sponsors' buck, et cetera. So, sorry, I can look into it though.
I was just curious what CNS means.
CNS, shoot, Isaiah, you,
Community and senior.
thank you.
What?
Community and senior. So, those would be, what's an example of a community and senior program?
Like the senior meals, right?
Yeah, but they get revenue from them, maybe.
When I pulled the report, I can actually look at each transaction, so I can look
Okay.
into
Yes.
more if you guys have more questions
and
about specifics.
what's the SFNO?
That's the sports,
Sports facilities
and outdoor.
and outdoors.
Yeah, and I think I'd be curious, because actually, okay.
On this one, is this so it's transactions, is this including, like the folks that schedule with, Carolyn?
Sorry, can you hold that up for me? Oh, man. All right, so I need to be really honest. Skylar made a mistake when printing, and I didn't scale this down. So this doesn't include all of the cities.
Well, that's
That's
fine.
why it starts at F and it ends at P, because they were alphabetical.
Got it.
But I did list the top 10 for you by transaction. So yes, it does include Coach Carolyn. That's why you see a lot of those Lake Oswego
Yeah.
surrounding communities tied, because Carolyn has such strong relationships with this women's community there.
One of the things that's interesting, I wouldn't mind seeing this chart like delineated out a little more to area, like Portland metro area, for instance, and see what that's, because this goes to some of our conversation today with those guys, right, about how, I think they keep sort of talking about how many people live within a 10-mile radius or 15-mile radius. And how many of our patrons, I love that we have this data, and I would love to do a little deeper dive into that, because, and I think this is an area to really grow revenue, because they're coming already, but how do they even know about us when they're coming here? I mean, we don't do hardly any outreach, right?
Not to the Portland area.
To the Portland
You
people,
know,
right?
what we should do or should have done or whatever
Pool over
is
here.
at the SRC on the
Should have
weekends
SRCs.
with the PBL people that are coming from all over the place. We should have a table or a booth or a flyer or a bulletin board or something.
We have a bulletin board.
Well, it's bigger.
Well, I have to say, there's, coming in the pool, in the classes at the pool, there's some people that have said to me, we didn't know there was a pool here. And
We need a big sign that says pool
I mean,
this way.
if you Google, is there a pool in Seaside, like, we come, I don't know how to tell everybody that we're here.
I don't know.
I mean,
Well, I think that is part of the marketing
Yeah.
plan, like that is a place, but I think we need, it is a little tough to find stuff on the website.
I
You and
bet people
talked
know
about that.
where, McDonald's is, I mean, I don't know, like, I think that's just more a reflection of like,
I'm just saying, like, the PBL weekends in particular, knowing, having sat there for so long and knowing the crowds that are coming and where the people are coming from, and they're traveling all over the place, being able to say, hey, you may be staying in a rental house in Seaside, did you know that you can come and use our pool for an hour in between your games?
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you know that we have a fitness facility that you can go and use,
It was like she was there today. Talk about this.
I know.
Actually, we've done, as part of our strategic plan, we're gonna have some data. We've done some data mining, and we can know where people are from and where they're going after they leave.
Based on their mobile phone pings.
Okay, that's just
Big data.
crazy.
Don't worry, it's happening all over. That's
I opt
That's
out.
our part.
Yeah.
just enough time
Where
to
we should go.
Yeah, I mentioned a while ago, you say we have a bulletin board. I still think we need kiosks at the SRC entries that are community bulletin board and advertise, getting all of our flyers kind of off our doors and onto like a nice, anyway.
Well, I do think there's something, I think there needs to be a comprehensive, like, communications plan about this. Like, I think we are so tourist driven, and to provide, particularly to the larger, beach house management places. I mean, my family has a beach house in Seaside, and there is a basket that has all the stuff. Inside the cupboard, it shows the clam tide schedule, but there's no park and rec stuff there.
Well, and I've mentioned before, my mom used to live over Crooked River Ranch, and they have a community center
Correct.
on there.
Right.
And those vacation rental homes can opt in to have a pass for their vacation rentals, that's part of their incentive and their perk that they advertised for people to come and choose their home over the one next door, is that they offer that.
Thank you.
And,
The park and rec pass, right.
yeah, it's a little pass that's on a lanyard, you get to use it and, wear it,
There's
yeah,
the whole map.
the whole thing. I just think that is a program that we could
It'd be
implement
interesting.
fairly easily.
Well, we could pilot it with a single hotel, for instance, if we found a hotel that wanted to do it and just see what the uptake is. And do a 1-year pilot and keep track of how many of those visitors are coming in.
Thank you for pulling this, this is fascinating. Good data.
I think if there's other data points that the board wants to help inform their position, I think Isaiah is amazingly equipped and smart to help us with that.
I would love to see this in terms of people, not just dollars.
Okay.
That would be great to see.
Got that?
People, yeah. Yep. Awesome. It's a little tough because you can't judge, the dollars aren't 1-to-1 if we're not charging the same
Sure.
for each day.
I think at this point, I don't really have, I feel like, enough information from the board to present a policy, a fee review, unless there's more things that the board feels. I guess, just generally speaking, does the board feel like 75-ish% for general admission programs is around the right amount, or would they like to see an increase there? And then, do they also feel like roughly 33% for programs such as preschool and after-school programs and summer camp? Or is that what they are looking for, or are they looking to see an increase in that as well?
I'd like to workshop not just a percentage, but more of a calculation like Kyle proposed, which is to actually look at, so that we can, so it's just not an arbitrary percentage.
Okay.
Kind of going back to the program cost recovery, 110, what was it called?
110%.
Yeah, 110.
Cost recovery.
Where, they did a lot of that work for us where they figured out how much each program cost us to operate.
Yeah.
I think, can we pull that data back out from the,
Yeah, we can.
cupboards and kind of look at it? I think the intent from the board is to put a little pressure, to continue to, review our fees every couple of years. I think that's important. The last time that we did this, it had been many years because we couldn't agree on anything. But also to kind of put a little bit of pressure feeding into potentially expanding and strategic planning, like all the things, right? We're trying to put a little bit of pressure on the out-of-district communities, but in the right way and to justify it. I do like Celeste's, point of a formula and not necessarily like across the board, like we're just, everything's 33% or 75%, but because, there is more value, I think, in having like lower fees for, like we said, swim lessons, because that is a life skill for those kids, right? But, yeah, I think pulling out the 110% data that we paid for them to kind of do the evaluation and maybe looking at and coming up with a formula. I mean, I could see this being a workshop that we pull in some staff and Isaiah and his numbers and kind of, literally go kind of program by program, like, okay, swim lessons, how does this break down? How can we make that work? Special events, do we want to charge? But I think that needs to be one, not just 8 o'clock at night on.
I was wondering, what percentage of kids that are, ever since COVID, I think there's possibly more homeschooling going on in the community than previously. So I'm wondering, how does the school district fit in with helping kids get lessons, and what kind of outreach can we do for kids that are homeschooled who don't necessarily hear about the park district or the school district's, relationship to any of our programs, the camps, and how many kids are in homeschool that could benefit from our programs, or how many that do?
And how to reach them.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Because, you guys provide stuff that we send out to school district families, but that, doesn't necessarily reach homeschool families, so. I think a lot of that is word of mouth, too.
No,
But
Well, there's an
That's true.
organization, I know the kids I knew that were homeschooled when my kids were in school, that were up in Yakima, and there was an extensive network, but you could get information out to them through this central location.
I don't think we're
It was like
like
this.
organized. But, maybe a lot of churches, I know they do a lot of big groups and stuff.
Okay.
Does that seem a little bit of a direction? Do you want more?
I'm okay for now, I think. I feel like, everybody's, yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
All right, update on item C, there is no requirement in place right now. Again, if you're at SDO conference, they talked about this, but the, Oregon Ethics Commission has not provided the details on this training, so, again, we'll keep it on the agenda, because it is,
We have to do it.
assuming it is a responsibility that every calendar year, every board member completes this training. SDO is trying to, they submitted a proposal. This is what the training should have, and we'll run it for our member agencies. And, Government Ethics Commission has not gotten back to them or said yes or no, so more to come.
Another thing is the SDAO, they'll be back in 2026,
Sure.
so we'll have an opportunity to take advantage of that.
Where are they going next year?
They're going to the Deschutes River House on the Deschutes in Bend. Okay, last item under new business. You guys are doing great. Hang in there. We are proposing a new policy for the board to consider. It is called a surplus property policy. We did get board permission to have a surplus sale a couple years ago with remaining items from the SRC, but we did not necessarily adopt a overarching surplus policy that would guide the district in disposing of items no longer in use or that no longer have value. So I did not write this policy myself. It came through our council from another Park and Rec special district. So I would consider it properly vetted by those parties. But essentially what brings us forward is there are items in the district inventory that we have that we need to make sure we dispose of in the right way because they've been purchased through taxpayer resources, and giving them away or staff taking them home is not appropriate. And
Yeah.
you all know that, so this policy would help guide our decisions on that. It does have a part in the policy about property. We do have property, but I don't imagine that we are going to be disposing of said property anytime soon. But if we were to
Well,
come.
we are.
Wait, what? Oh, we're not disposing of that, we're.
No.
Yeah,
We're,
fair enough. I think, if we were to have large amounts of property that maybe we didn't find to be of value or wanted to get rid of, this would guide us. The main part of the surplus property that I think is more applicable to us is the part at the bottom of the page, which talks about the forms of disposing of the district resources in the most advantageous way, so a public auction, a donation, or a disposal, and that the board is allowing staff, myself, I guess, to oversee that process and ensure that we comply with best practices and what's best for the district, which is us trying to capture as much, financial resources as possible in these disposals.
So in something like this, I always look at risk, and partly to protect you, to tell you the truth, right, from any accusations of conflict of interest. And so that's the part where, like, I would look for some sort of log that is available for boards to look at or check in on, or something like that. Because what you don't want is somebody saying, well, Skylar
When we get
deemed
this to us
something
for-
wasn't
Yeah.
valuable, but it really was worth $10,000, and
Yeah.
disposed of it by giving it to his aunt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't want, that we want to protect you from those allegations, so I think having a log of surplus property is probably a great way to
It's a great idea.
make sure that we can do
Yeah.
that. And I think maybe even, when you say staff, it isn't saying that it has to be approved by you, right? So what I wouldn't want,
Hang on one second. It says that the property of the district has been determined by the director or designee. So if I designated somebody, at least according to how it's written right now.
yeah, so I'd be worried about you also protecting Darren and
Sure.
giving Darren carte blanche to get rid of
Sure.
stuff, right? Or Levi, right? Like, so that's, I just don't want to put our folks in a, so there should probably be a level of transparency where there's like a two staff sign off, or that it eventually gets signed off by you, acknowledged by you, just to make sure that there isn't a conflict of interest.
I like that. That could be an easy adjustment or addition to the policy.
I appreciate you bringing this forward.
So I was, I read all this stuff. So on page 4, which is under.
Wait,
some-
are you reading the IGA?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hold
Are we
that.
not there yet?
I think we could potentially be, but I'd really like to, I guess,
Okay.
handle the policy first. And the IGA is kind of it's a separate surplus issue that I don't think it could fall in the policy, but it really, I'll explain in a second. So I think those suggestions are good. I don't know if we're at a point where we want to move forward in approving the policy or adopting the policy with those changes, or if the board would like me to make those changes and bring it back, or explain kind of the
I'd say
protocol in place.
let's move on with it. I'm really glad to see this, so I would like to make a motion. We adopt the, what are we calling this, surplus
Surplus
policy,
property policy.
surplus
Yeah.
property policy with the addition of a requirement that a log of surplus policy is kept, and that there is at least 2 signatures approving any disposal.
Okay.
I'll second that. This doesn't, no.
all in favor, signify by opposing suit.
Aye.
Celeste?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So the next item.
Surplus property includes real estate.
The next item is a intergovernmental agreement. The state of Oregon has a contracting agency that disposes of local government's inventory when necessary. And it's mainly for vehicles, heavy equipment, things such as that nature. So as you are hopefully aware of, the district maintains two mini buses and a district truck. And what we are realizing is that we are not using those vehicles anywhere near their full capacity. When we had a smaller preschool offering, they were used more heavily. But at this point, we can't fit our preschool in the two buses, and it's more advantageous for us to rent another form of transportation, either from the local school district or from somewhere else. So it's our position that it's advantageous to sell the buses or dispose of them using this service provided by the state of Oregon, and either allocate those funds to capital improvements or the purchase of a new maintenance vehicle. Our truck that we have is over 20, maybe 25 years old, and consistently needs work and efforts. Not exactly sure what we would do with the funds, but yeah, this IGA would at least initiate a process for this agency to sell those two vehicles.
But what would we write on in 4th of July parade?
That's a great question, Catherine, but I
Priorities.
I appreciate you holding that question until I was done. And I don't have a good answer, but I do think maybe the one day of the year is not worth the potential.
We shall walk. I
What?
would say walk.
Yeah, we have two gators. We have or will have a truck.
I'm just saying.
I agree. That would be a hard. There are certain things about the district buses that would be hard to seek out if they go. We've used them for staff field trips and outings, and that's always been fun.
Surf camp.
Surf camp. We drove to, Mike, do you remember, we drove to Portland to see some facilities a few years ago, and Mike and Darren.
I drove the bus. We went on a tour of libraries.
Yeah.
With the city, with the mayor and, bunch of staff, yeah, did Rita Faccarell.
We have like an old U-Haul truck too, is that,
We do, that's
That got
holding
sold.
farmer's market
I don't think
inventory.
it was the
No, we
same
still have
buses
it.
though.
I was thinking we gave that to the food bank.
No, we got it, from the food.
Got it from, I knew there was a food bank option.
Yeah, that's probably in the worst shape, but we only really move it from one side of the SRC to the other, so. And it holds all that farmer's market equipment in the summers. It's pretty valuable for that stuff.
Put a big park and rec wrap on that. Make it look like,
Yeah.
it's movable advertising. Every time it moves, it's advertising.
Fair.
I wonder what it cost.
You can hire somebody to
Sign
I know
out
Mary
there,
Blake
the
wanted to
Sunset
put a
Empire sign up on the corner of,
I guess Levi.
The facilities team did that, yeah. We've had a few discussions about improving the branding of the SRC and capturing some of the visitors that we have. And I know that we're late, it's the end of the season, and yeah, ideally it would have been done before. But, you know, sometimes in government work, you get to it when you get to it. Or we're all pretty stinking busy right now. Not that that's any excuse, but, yeah.
and offhand, the parking lot by the skate park, when's that gonna be open?
So we were supposed to get Connex trailers for the softball field project delivered on Monday.
Okay.
They weren't able to be delivered on Monday, and I don't think they were able to be delivered today because of concerns about the weather. So as soon as they're here, they'll be relocated to other sites that they'll end up at, and that's kind of the drop site.
Executive session. I move we go into executive session.
Well, hold on.
We gotta,
We
do
can't.
we not have a?
I thought we voted
Well,
No, not on the IGA.
I'd
Oh,
like
the
to make a
IGA.
motion that we,
on surplus
You can give me
property.
permission.
so I make a motion that we give Skylar permission to enter into the IGA
Oh, yes.
for the,
Surplus.
That's
For
right.
the disposing of surplus property.
for disposing of surplus property.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Mike. All in favor, signify by aye. Opposed, nay, Sue.
Aye.
Celeste. Aye. Mike.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do you wanna enter?
I make a motion that, for the board of directors to go into executive session for the purpose of conducting deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions pursuant to ORS 192.660(1)E.
We have a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor, signify by those names. Sue? Celeste?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Aye.
Executive
Thank
session.
you, Isaiah.
Stand up a minute. I was going to sleep.
I think we're lit up enough for the
You know,
public meeting.
on the YouTube feed, it is lit enough.
It's okay, yeah.
Yeah, if you're okay with it, I'm
Yeah.
fine with it.
Okay.
And I think we've got some extenuating circumstances. I
It
mean,
makes my head feel so much better, honestly.
It's hard to think we're having a party.
No, but I mean,
Recording in
it's
progress.
still, like, you look on the thing, like, you
Yeah.
can still see us.
well,
I mean, it's hard to read, but it's hard to read. It's pretty.
I'd like to move that we provide our executive director with permission to enter into the real estate transaction that was discussed during the executive session with the city of Seaside.
Thank
I'll
you.
second that.
Thank you. All in favor, signify by voting names too. Plus,
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Skylar.
thank you.
Yeah,
It's great.
Good job.
yeah. Nice to get that off of our record. All right, it's all you.
All right, I'm going to be exceptionally brief. So appreciate the board members that were able to attend SEO conference. I felt like it was a really worthwhile investment. I will say one of the highlights of the conference was being in the same session as Sue and her texting me questions as she sat behind me. So that's a special experience. But Mike was there as well, and I know you guys have gotten some of that training before. It was great to have it here, and another highlight was being able to show off our city a little bit with hosting pickleball. We had about 16 people come and play pickleball on Friday morning, and then we hosted a fun run, walk, 5K kind of deal, both Friday and Saturday, and had probably about 30 total participants, but that was really great.
Yeah.
And again, next year, conference will be in Bend, and then back to Seaside the year after that. That same weekend, we hosted the family dance. We had about 125 dancers, and again, it's always nice to be able to use our own facility, the SRC, for this, and just kind of helps reiterate the need and the great benefit that it provides. Dang it. Okay, no, actually, that's right.
Yeah.
Got confused about the board meeting date. So yeah, just want to remind the board, we talked about earlier, the March date is not on the fourth Tuesday, but the 21st. And later that month, we have our egg hunt. It's early this year. It feels early because Easter is early. Easter is on the 31st of March. And then wanted to update the board. I don't know how to do this briefly. So I may send something electronically unless you're getting the ORPA updates, but it's a short session of legislation, so there's just been a lot of activity. I will say today, actually, a recreational immunity bill got passed, so that's, I think, really promising for Oregonians everywhere from my perspective, because it keeps trails open. It's probably not a permanent fix, but a really good temporary fix that will last for a little while. There's also been some activity regarding some other things that impact the district in a very secondary way. And if you'd like more details, I'll shoot you the email summary to provide that to you. That was the end of my report, unless the board has questions, but thank you all for a great meeting. I know it's been a long day, and appreciate you all dedicating. Yeah.
Question, I wanted to make sure, I was checking out, how to make sure the district got credit, discounts off our insurances for the participation in the board training, et cetera, et cetera. And I was told, okay, you have to go online and do the conference evaluation. So I tried to do that. I found out that I could not do that because I needed a special code, because I wasn't the original, you guys
I was the one that registered.
signed us up, so I couldn't get a code to access the evaluation, but I wanted to make sure, more importantly, that we got all the incremental insurance discounts
Yes.
that the district is entitled.
Yeah, I completed the best practices assessment today, actually, and I was able to completely check that box and get our 10% total discount, because we've had such great training dedication by the board to go to the training in Astoria a few months ago, and then Special Districts Conference. I know Sue went to a training in Salem. So you guys, you're doing, I'm not just, I hope you know how much I appreciate you going to these trainings, and how much I think it makes our board more informed and robust, and better governance of yourself to help lead the district. I don't think the things that we're accomplishing would have happened if we didn't have such a dedicated group of people that were
governing us. So, thanks, Mike.
I guess maybe this will be my board comment, you know.
Hey, you can have more.
Yeah.
All right, board
Appreciate it.
comments, you go.
I wanted to, first of all, this is, in 3 hours, we've done a whole lot. So, I wanted to, I guess, did everyone get the mailing that had a magnet, a large magnet? And it's got Broadway Middle School on it and some other mistakes. And I thought that was odd that it went out to, I got it. I forgot to bring it. I can show it.
I've never heard of it.
It was in an envelope, and it's just a big magnet that has.
Oh, yes.
And it's
I
got
did
Broadway
get it.
Middle School on it, and I'm really curious if they've got the wrong phone numbers for the high school.
What is it?
I think it,
I'm so
it's
sorry.
like one of those things
I
that's
meant to
like,
bring it.
call, here's a bunch of community numbers, and it says Broadway Middle School, and it has a phone number, and it might have some other outdated information.
Yeah.
It's almost like they took a template from like 4 or 5 years ago. I think
Yeah.
it's one of those things that they sell advertising to around.
Right.
Like maybe the newspaper does it, or,
Huh.
I know this sounds silly, like the Yellow Pages, it kind of has that kind of feel. Remember when we used to have
Yeah.
the phone books? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just thought that was unfortunate,
Yeah.
and I meant to bring it, and I,
Good guess.
anyway, so everyone should have, I hope everyone got it, but anyway, board comment, I still maintain how appreciative I am. Look at Haley, when we hired her, and now she has her master's and going for more certification. It's exciting to have, and I loved how she just rattled off certain, certain words with initials and just a mastery of the material, and I think we're very lucky to have her. I am grateful for, Kyle and Celeste and, the work that they did to make our day a little more streamlined, to understand some of this complicated information. And I think there's a lot that will benefit. I'm interested in Kyle getting back and, letting us know how things looked, in his opinion, for the city meeting.
They're done. He should be back here by now.
Yeah. He could show up. He may just say,
I should have
I
volunteered to
wonder.
go.
I'm looking at the door. Anyway, so I do have some things that I want to make sure that patrons understand that, especially, I guess I will speak to me directly because I'm in the water up to 5 days a week, and people are coming up to me, and I have communicated with Skylar, and there are things that people are afraid to, they're concerned for possible repercussions, and I think there is an important message to sift through and find the positive things and bring those to a place where they can be addressed, where people who aren't willing to come forward can find some sort of confidence. And I think that's a big deal. And my message is that I'm listening. I think the board is listening. When you talk about the floor of the bathroom for the women's locker room, anyway, not bathroom, pardon me. That's just a small example that we, the board, heard the information and we are listening. We aren't ignoring. We aren't shuffling something under the rug. And it's important that people feel comfortable that they can voice their concerns without feeling afraid. So I want to work on that as a goal for this next year, because I think transparency is the goal, and we are open, we're transparent, we're listening. We just need to let people hear that in a message that they can receive it. I continue to believe every complaint is a gift. And so I'm grateful that people do talk to me, but I am not willing to, look at a complaint as like, if you don't like my hair color, I'm not gonna fix that, you know? But if you have a legitimate concern, I'm willing to listen and move it forward. So I wanna just make sure that this, this wonderful district that we have is something that we can just fine tune and polish maybe a little bit more, and therefore, have a more inclusive, representation of people who feel comfortable speaking their minds. And I'm hopeful that we can do that this year.
My only comment is I'm really proud of this board. What a productive meeting. We moved through so much stuff. So, and I think we can only do that because we're strong.
Celeste, Mike,
Thanks. I get another shot?
you make it short and sweet.
Anyway, I did send a letter in support of recreational immunity to Merkley, and I got a copy of the draft letter that the County Parks Advisory Committee sent to the state, and also I'm aware that the county commissioners also sent a letter in support of that too. So I think there was pretty broad acknowledgement of the issue in the community. That's all I have to say.
I would just like to say that I appreciate all the behind-the-scenes work you put into all the different things that we have talked about together. That a lot of these have been on the table for a long time. I had someone comment on the projected length of our meeting, and their comment was, how do you keep board members interested? Because it's such a long meeting. I said, well, honestly, once we get going, we get a lot done, and it moves right along, and I appreciate this board. I appreciate everybody here. I think we work really well together as a team, and we got a lot done. Anyway, thank you so much for turning the lights off. Meeting adjourned.
Maybe we can keep the lights off next time.
I know, no kidding.
And your games are going on and on. It's probably somebody's Wi-Fi, it's probably your phone.
Sorry.
Phone.
Sorry, guys, probably is.
Wow.
We'll try it next time, we'll do it
Well,
again.
I know it's your screen is up, but I don't know, it could be, I get a Wi-Fi interference, it could be from the network right in here, you know.
Now watch Kyle walk in.
Could be that darn YouTube.
He probably figured we already left.
I know.
Although.